All right, welcome everybody to another Sunday gathering of When Black Women Gather. We are so fortunate today to have two wonderful guests from the Gullah country. The title of our topic today is Celebrating Gullah. And we have two women who will join us to talk to us. They're Gullah women, to talk to us about the history and the culture and the misperceptions that, sometimes we have about Geechee and Gullah, and it's just going to be an exciting conversation. I'm going to bring them on screen right now. I met them, let me see, and Chip, help me out. I'm looking for Anita. Okay, why don't I see her? Anita Prather. I was just talking to her. Okay, there she is. Okay, I'm sorry. This is all right. Okay. So we have two wonderful guests today. Anita Prather, also known as Queen. I'm sorry, I'm making you a queen because you look so regal. I love that head. Teach me how to do that.
That's simple.
But Anita Prather, it also goes, her stage name is Aunt Pearly Sue, and that's what I keep calling her, Pearly Sue. She was so wonderful when we were down there for the Gullah Festival, and she's going to tell you all about that and what she does. And then Reba Pazant is the person who is one of the original coordinators of the Gullah Festival. And they'll tell you much better than I, but the Gullah Festival is an annual event that happens every year at Memorial Day, Decoration Day, but also known as Memorial Day weekend. And there's a gathering of Black folks from everywhere. This was the first one this year that they had since, this is the first one that they had this year since COVID. And it was so well attended. About maybe 12 of us went down there. And some of those folks are on the call, so I'll be asking them to hop in and share what their experience was. And also for people who have been to Gullah and who have been to Gullah and want to share your experiences, you're welcome to do that as well. So I am going to excuse myself and turn it over to these two wonderful ladies, and they will tell you all about themselves and what their connection is to the Gullah Festival and how that happened. They're both Gullah women, and they can also tell you what that means. All righty, so I'm going to bow out and turn it over to you ladies. If anyone has pressing questions while they're talking, this is an interactive conversation, so feel free to raise your hand and we'll acknowledge you. If you're on the phone, we'll just have to say something and let us know that you're out there because we can't see your hand. So with that, I'm going to say it's all yours, ladies.
Okay.
Well, hello everyone. And Ms. Higgy, I thank you for this opportunity. I really appreciate it. When she started calling to make reservations to obtain packets for the weekend, I didn't know who this lady was, and then when we finally met at the festival, I was glad I met her. But my name is Reba Pazant. I am one of the co-founders for the original Gullah Festival of South Carolina. A group of women, we started meeting in 1985. It was my mother, Rosalie Pazant, my sister, Lolita Harris, my sister, Charlotte Brown, a good family friend at the time, Marlena McGee, and myself. We all met because we realized that at that time we'd stopped having the Decoration Day, because there would always be, we would always have a grand old time around Memorial Day weekend. There would be a little fair that would come to town, and Anita, you remember Sam's, Mr. Stokes? Yeah, we would have a grand old time. But since he passed, that opportunity went away as well. And Mama was an English teacher. She taught at Robert Smalls High School. Then she went on to teach at Savannah State. And when we were growing up, we weren't allowed to speak Gullah. You better not talk like that in this house. Because back during that time, I'm a product of the 50s. And back during that time, it was deemed that if you spoke Gullah or Geechee, that you weren't too smart, you were back with your country. And so a lot of the students who would be in Mama's classes would speak Gullah, and sometimes they would feel less self-confident. And so we decided we wanted to, there was a lot of talent in Beaufort, a lot of local talent. And she wanted to bring the talent and incorporate the pride of the Gullah people as well. And so we wanted people to be proud of their heritage, be proud of their culture, be proud of themselves, you know. And that we had our first festival back in 1986. It was not well attended because, you know, sometimes your own don't appreciate what you're doing right away. Not until many years later that they get on the bandwagon. But we had the Edwin Hawkins singers. I don't know if you all remember them or not. They're from California. The whole group didn't come, but we had a good number who came. Unfortunately, like I said, it wasn't that well attended because I don't think many people thought that we had the ability to get a well-known gospel group to come to Little Beaufort. And so there were about maybe 100 people there, if that many. And so I went on and made sure I got the festival incorporated. I did all the paperwork, and we were finally incorporated in 1987. And this past May, we had our 36th festival, to God be the glory. And let's see, we had our there was only 1 year that we really missed, other than the 2 years for the pandemic. Well, 1 year of the pandemic, we did have like a Zoom. We had a Zoom, a virtual festival with previews and highlights of our past festivals. And the only 1 year that we really missed was the year of the NAACP boycott. We rented the park, but we did not have any activities at the park. So they didn't get a chance to get the black dollars. But since then, I have done some of everything, you know, with the festival. I'm so sorry that Cleo wasn't able to get on the call because Cleo was there from the beginning too, along with Mama. Mama made sure that Cleo was there. And Cleo has been faithful every year since then. She's 88 years old and still going strong. Let me see, my mother has since passed. My sister Lolita has passed. And Marlena didn't work with us after the first year. And so my sister Charlotte and I, along with our children, our grandchildren, close family friends, and there's no way we'd be able to make it without the community, you know, without volunteers to help us. And so right now, I primarily just do tours. And I remember doing a tour for the second tour that I did. This young lady asked, well, if this is a Gullah Festival tour, how come you're not speaking of Gullah? We want to hear some Gullah. So from then on, I started speaking in Gullah, yeah. And so when you speak a Gullah, Gullah is not just a dialect. It's not just the way we speak. It's the way we live, the way we praise God. You know, all our worship, everything, all that included in Gullah. You know, Gullah is the peoples from the Sea Islands of the coast of South Carolina, as well as Georgia. And I think some part of North Carolina, they're right on the coast, but mainly the people from the coast, you know, they call us the low country. That's the home of Gullah, you know. And you can go anywhere you want in the US, you ain't gonna find no people who gonna treat you like Gullah people, yeah? I hope when y'all came down here, y'all had a good time and made yourself a home, ain't it? Okay, so I know I've been rambling, but I just want to let y'all know a little bit about Gullah. You know, it means people blessed by God, you know, in Gwale. And it means the people blessed by God, because people come from West Africa and, you know, the Caribbean, all them places, you know. And so the language and the culture have now come together, and we Gullah, you know, the way we eat and everything. You know, I remember one time, we right down the coast, so you know we like fish, Eddie. I remember one time I'd gone to the hospital because I had an allergic reaction because I like some shrimp. And the doctor tell me, say, well, you know, you can't shrimp no more, you're allergic to shrimp. I tell you to his face, I rebuke that in the name of Jesus, yeah, because you ain't gonna tell me that. I love myself some seafood, yeah. But anyway, I go, I'm here for any more questions you want to ask, anything. If you want to know some more about, go turn over to Anita. Because
Yeah,
Anita came on with us too, and she's
yeah.
been working with us every year. She's the vice president now.
We will definitely
Yeah.
come back to you to hear more about the festival, because I want you to tell people about all the wonderful things, from the greeting, from the white party to the tours to the ceremony at where the slaves came in. I mean, it's just so much to tell. But right now,
Okay.
we're going to hear from Pearly Sue. And you
God
look,
bless it.
I
God
guess,
bless everybody.
how beautiful you look today. You look so pretty.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Lord Jesus, I'm so excited about everybody being here. And just want to tell everybody, we all are Gullah kinfolk. So
Amen.
whether or not you ended up on the West Coast, the East Coast, North, South, Caribbean, and any place else, we all are connected. And so when you start talking about Gullah, you're talking about multiculturalism 101. And I always, what we do, I'm founder of the Gullah Kinfolk and Pearly Sue and Gullah Kinfolk. And we have an organization called the Gullah Traveling Theater. And what we do is we bring Gullah history alive through musical theater. That's the gist of what we do. But we are ambassadors of love, ambassadors of this rich culture that was for so long, like Reba said. One time, if somebody called you Geechee, because we didn't start using Gullah until maybe about 30 years ago, 30, 35 years ago, because everybody, you said you were Geechee. And so that was fighting words. I can remember even when I went to Howard University, and the first thing they said, oh, you from the islands? And I got so excited because all of Beaufort County is an island. I mean, even Beaufort proper itself is a peninsula completely surrounded by water. So if you don't like water, Beaufort ain't the place to come, because you go about a half a mile to a mile, you go run in the body of water. And it's a series of sea islands and barrier islands that make up Beaufort County. Hilton Head Island, Bluffton, all of those are parts of Beaufort County. And so, so when they asked me, was I from the islands, I got excited. Because even though I grew up in the city limits of Beaufort, by the time I was in 3rd grade, my mother and father had built a home across the bridge. When you cross the bridge from downtown where the park is, that part was called the island. And so we built a house on the island. I said, oh yeah, I'm from the island. And they said, what island? St. Croix, St. Thomas. Well, I was a cusser, good cusser back then. And boy, I'd get the cussing. And they said, oh Lord, don't get that heat started from. And when they found out I was from Beaufort, oh my God. Then they started talking about Dr. Buzz and root doctors and stuff like that. When they asked me about roots, I said, oh, I love that movie. Wasn't it nice? And they said, no, we want, what kind of roots you talking about? So all of that was part of, I guess, the covering for this beautiful place called Beaufort. And let me say this from the very start, because I'll get to talking and then I'll forget. But if I know most people that's on this call probably saw the movie Black Panther. And when you look at that movie, being a historian, when my grandkids first said to me, when they first said to me about going to see Black Panther, because they had seen it. Oh, Grandma, you got to go see that movie. I said, boy, I don't go see no Captain Marvel, boy. I won't see that mess. And they kept bothering me. I said, well, okay, I'll take them to the movies. I'll get my popcorn. I'll get my Pepsi Cola and my Snicker bars, and I'm gonna eat. I'm gonna pass gas, and I'm going to sleep. That was my plan. Well, to my surprise, all I could see was all of this history that was hidden. And all of it, like I said, being a historian, immediately that stuff started popping. And I started seeing the parallel of this movie and this fictitious utopia called Wakanda and Beaufort during Reconstruction. So what I tell Black folks, if you want to find out about how we fit. Well, basically, we don't fit because it's hard to fit when you're the first. So you can't fit in when you're the first. And so we go back to Africa and we realize that we're the first, we're the beginning. And even coming here first, before a lot of Europeans got here, we were already here in South Carolina, in the Beaufort area. So our history of African-American history begins here in Beaufort because it is, Gullah itself is the genesis, is the taproot of our history. So if we want to find out who we are, we got to start here. And if you don't get a chance to go over to Sierra Leone, to Bunce Island, and all the other places, this is a good starting place because this is where we were able to maintain and retain a lot of our Africanisms that make up this culture called Gullah. So, like I said, I was fortunate when I grew up that my parents did not teach me to be ashamed of my Gullah roots. It was the exact opposite. Even though my mother was an educator, she was a school teacher, first generation college graduate. My father was a second generation college graduate because my grandfather, paternal grandfather, was born 1875, just 10 years out of enslavement in Colleton County, which is the county just north of Beaufort County, where Harriet Tubman on June 2nd, 1863, freed over 750 Africans without one drop of Black blood being lost or one drop of Union blood. When you're talking about your history in America, Black folks, you got to come here. And don't just wait to come. We want you to come to the festival. But we want to remind you, we are Gullah 365 and a fourth day. And we were Gullah before Gullah was even cool. And I'm gonna stop with that.
No, you mentioned history, and I'm gonna, well, I see questions in the chat, so you all can chime in and ask questions as we go along, but somebody's asking where is the Gullah Festival? I think that's been answered. In case you missed it, it's in Beaufort. And what's
it's in Beaufort, South Carolina, right? Every
right.
weekend leading up to Memorial Day. And so this coming in 2023, it'll be May 26th through the 28th. We used to start on a Thursday years ago, but we found that the attendance wasn't that great because a lot of people couldn't get off from work by then. And so we started doing it on Fridays. You know, we have a lecture series. We have different workshops. We have Mama wanted to make sure that there was always an educational component because, as I said, she was an English teacher. And my father taught agriculture. He was principal of Dale Elementary School, which is another community north of Beaufort, but it's still in Beaufort County. He was the principal of Dale Elementary School for a number of years, and he taught agriculture. And he even helped to teach canning over at Penn Center years ago. I know many of you know about Penn Community Services. And so she always
tell them about the history of Penn, if you don't mind.
I'm sorry, repeat that.
You can tell them about the history of Penn and why it's important, the Penn Center.
Penn Center was founded in 1863. 1862, that's right. It was founded a year before emancipation, and it was the first school for the newly freed slaves. And it was started by some Quakers. Some Quaker teachers would have come to Penn School, and where Penn Center is located was property deeded by Hastings Gant, a Black man. He owned that property, and he deeded it to Penn Center. And Penn Center, like I said, it was the first school for freed slaves, and there's a lot of history at Penn Center. And that's included as part of our tour. When you come to the Gullah Festival, you know, you can always go on a tour. Like I said, she wanted to make sure that there was always an educational component. There are different workshops. We have this Lest We Forget series where it tells you about the way Beaufort used to be. It has different educational people there to talk as well. My sister Charlotte heads that up. And we have the Gullah Village. Anita heads that up. And the principle behind the Gullah Village was to reenact or make you be aware of the way things used to be back in the day, you know, in our Gullah area. And we have the Brandyfoot Awards. We didn't do that this past year, but that's to recognize some of the people, not just from Beaufort, but from the Low Country who have contributed historically. And so when you come to the festival, we have the all-white party on Thursday night. We have a wonderful vendors market area, and we have a food court. There's wonderful food. Well, we want to make sure you get your Gullah cuisine going on. And I don't know, there's just so much.
So when you
it's a lot of history.
When you say Low Country, what states are included in the Low Country?
When we talk,
It's
well,
mainly,
we got, yeah, let's see. We
it's
got
mainly
the,
South Carolina and Georgia. Yeah,
right, and now we have North Carolina
North
and
Carolina.
Florida.
now.
That's also part of what they call the Gullah Geechee corridor, heritage corridor.
Yeah.
So it's
Mhm, yeah.
it's 4 states, and they say it goes about 50 miles inland. That would be considered the Gullah Geechee corridor.
Right,
And
that's now, but it wasn't
right,
now. Yeah.
right.
Mhm.
That help to preserve this culture. Some of the questions are there activities for the children? Yes, we do. Part of the Gullah Village, we have a children's village with games, old-fashioned games, and a 10 cents, 5 and dime candy shop. I'm sure parents don't want to hear that, but we have it. They have this year we added a puppet show. We had a story corner. And all of these, I was so excited about the young lady who did the story corner. She wrote a book called the Gullah Alphabet Book. She's one of our own right here from Beaufort. Now she's Dr. Ebony Allen Toussaint. And so we were excited about that. And every year we try to add something. This is a family-friendly festival.
Non-alcoholic.
Right, we don't have any sponsors, alcohol sponsors or beer sponsors. It would be so easy if we would accept that, but we don't. And just to tell you a comparison, and Ms. Helen can tell you, you didn't see a lot of garbage on the floor, on the grounds.
No.
They just ended the water festival today. It was a 10-day festival. It used to be predominant, it used to be an all-white festival. Now, of course, you know, it's integrated. But the first night, it made the news because all the garbage that they left.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
no, it was a very from beginning to end. And I want you to talk about the play that you did. So there was a play, there was a tour, there were African drummers and dancers. There were local performers. There was church for those of you who wanted to get up and have the sunrise worship in the morning. And then there was a ceremony. And I want you to talk about the area where the slaves came in, if you don't mind. I think that's very important. And I want you to educate everybody on this call about who Robert Smalls is, because I don't think we hear, we don't hear enough about slaves who revolted. And he is just like every Black person should know who he is. And I was so thrilled that still he is noted and celebrated in Beaufort. So either one of you can answer any of those questions.
Well, I can just tell you briefly, like when I take you on the tour, I make sure that we go by where the slaves came in on the coast. I know a lot of slaves came in at Charleston, but they also came in at Beaufort. And there's a site where you can still see where the slaves came up, the landscape up the hill, and it's near Parris Island. It's between Parris Island and right there in Beaufort County, because we do a special ceremony there on Memorial on Sunday, where we have like a libation and we remember those who were lost at sea on their way to this island. I remember when my mother had my nephew, I'll go out there and take a picture of the site. he was out there by himself. It was a sunny day, a clear day. And he was back when, they had the portable cameras. So he went back home and he took the camera, showed Mom the picture. And it was amazing because when the picture was developed, you could see like a rainbow. There was a rainbow and there were spirits, figures, all throughout the picture, and as if to say the slaves were happy that we finally remembered them and the struggles that they had been through. But the tour takes, we go by Mathis School, we go by Penn Center, and usually the tour also goes by the home of Robert Smalls. Because Robert Smalls was, he was a slave who was born in Beaufort. And when he became of age, he wanted to learn a trade. And so his master agreed to let him go to learn how to go. He let him go to Charleston, and he learned how to master the ships, how to drive and direct the ship. And so one night, years later, when Robert Smalls had married and everything, he took his wife and some other family members, and they captured this ship called the Planter. And see, by then, Robert Smalls knew exactly how to maneuver. He knew all the signs and signals to give the harbor masters and everything. And so he was able to bring that ship back over to the Union soldiers. And they were so happy that they awarded him $1,500. And so back during that time, $1,500 was a whole lot of money. And so Robert Smalls ended up not just buying the house that he grew up in as a slave, but he bought an entire block. Okay, so usually during the tour, I take them around and I show everybody exactly the property that Robert Smalls bought. He later on became a senator. He was a statesman, and he did a lot for Black people in the area during Reconstruction. And I'll let Anita go.
And if I can just add, the thing that got him is because he was born right behind the house that he ended up buying on New Street. He was born April 5th, 1839. And he was a very precocious young man. His playmates were all little white boys. And the law back then was a curfew. Black colored folks, quote unquote, colored folks had to be in before dark. And he would continue to play. And so he'd end up down at the jailhouse, and they would send for Henry McKee. Some folks said it was his daddy, said the son, John could have been his daddy. Well, he was a mulatto child. And so he would bring him home and scold him, of course, and tell him, don't do that again. And the next day would be the same thing. And so his mother she was afraid for him. So she took him to witness a whipping only a couple of blocks from where the house is, on a section in that part of town, which is called the Point, where all the big antebellum houses are. And so they have a open section called the Green, and they had a whipping there, and he witnessed that, and she thought that would get him to understand the perimeter of what this enslavement was all about. But what it did, it made him even more determined to be free. And so by the time he was maybe between 11 and 12, that's when his mother spoke to the master and said, please, you have some property up in Charleston, can you send him? Because she was so afraid. Same thing Black mothers are dealing with today of what could happen to him. So he was sent to Charleston, and he worked in the Planter. There was a hotel called the Planters Inn. He worked there, busting tables and doing whatever they would have him to do. And then he was also a lamp lighter. He would light the lamps up and down Meeting and King Street in Charleston. But his eyes was always on the water. He loved the water, and his dream job was to work on the wharf. And by the time he was 16, he was actually working at the wharf. And that's when his wife, the cougar, Hannah Jones, she was about 30 years old. And she had a 14-year-old and 12-year-old when she spotted him when he was 16. And by the time he was 17, they were married. And he negotiated, because she had a different master from him, but he negotiated with the masters for them to be able to live together. And they lived on top of a livery stable in downtown Charleston. And so in their extra time, I mean, he was an entrepreneur. I mean, he was selling all kinds of stuff. And because his plan was to buy the freedom of his children and his wife. And by the time the war kicked off and we were already free. Let me back up. Blacks in Beaufort were the first set of Blacks to be free at the very beginning of the Civil War. The war began let me back up, December 20th, 1860. All the plantation owners from all over South Carolina went up to Charleston and they signed these articles of succession that were first drafted right here in downtown Beaufort. And Beaufort in South Carolina became the first state to succeed. Well, then 5 months after that was April 12th, at the beginning of the Civil War that started again in Charleston. So again, first things first in South Carolina.
Wow.
And then 7 months after that, on November 7th, 1861, is what we had, what we call Big Gun Doesn't Shoot. But that's what the colored folks call it. And we were talking about the big guns that was on the side of all these Union ships that came down from Washington, D.C., trying to get to Charleston, which was the heart of the Confederacy. In Beaufort County, we have a body of water called Port Royal Sound. It is the second deepest natural harbor in the United States, only second to New York City. And that's like I-95 in the waterways. And that was the only way that the Union could get their troops to Charleston. And so we had the Confederate soldiers had set up two forts, one on Hilton Head Island, which was Fort Walker, and then one on the Bluffton Bay Point side, which was Fort Beauregard, to protect that body of water. Hilton Head and Bluffton is the southern tip of Beaufort County. So when those ships came through from Washington, D.C., they started doing this elliptical pattern, and they bombarded those two Confederate forts for 4.5 hours. And I guess Cletus and Bubba down there said, oh, Lord, Bubba, they about to kill us up in here. What is us gonna do? Bubba said, I don't know what you're gonna do, Cletus, but I'm gonna skedaddle on up out of here. And every white person in Beaufort County that day skedaddled out here, except for one. And his name was Morgan, and he was drunk as a skunk, and they left him at the waterfront where the festival is. Because and it was so funny because all the white folks were dressed up in their finery, sitting out on the beach down there in Lansing Beach, where they could look across the water and see the bombarding, because they just knew it was going to be, it was like watching 4th of July, and it was going to be a quick victory for the rebels. And when they found out that them boys hijacked out of here, all of those masters and their family members got on horse and buggies, steam boats, and they got up out of here. So they left us. We weren't going nowhere. There was one narrative of a woman said she remembered her master telling her boy to take him to Charleston. And she told him, you better not. She said, you start running up north and don't you stop till you get to freedom. Let master drive your own self. And so every white person left Beaufort County. They left their food on the table. They left their silver. They left their jewelry. They left everything. So 2 days later, on November 9th, by the time those Union ships actually arrived in downtown Beaufort at the waterfront, all of us was on the side in them fineries and their jewelry and them top hats saying, come on, Yankee boats. And so Beaufort became the headquarters for the Union in the Deep South during the Civil War. That's why it was never destroyed or burnt down like Charleston and Atlanta and Columbia and Augusta, those places, because it was the headquarters. So when I tell you, it's like Wakanda in the movie Black Panther, right in the middle of the Confederacy was this utopia for Black folks. And it's where Reconstruction started on November 7th, 1861, that allowed the Robert Smalls, that allowed Harriet Tubman to come and live here for 3 years in Beaufort and become, people talk about her 19 trips back and forth, but a lot of folks don't know she lived in Beaufort for 3 years. Yeah. She came down here and started a bakery and a laundry business. And she wanted to help newly freed women learn how to be self-sufficient. And so it's so much history. And a lot of those buildings and those landmarks are right here. And that's why on 2017, January the 12th, my 60th birthday, you know, President Obama loves me. He loved Michelle, but he loved me more. And his gift to me was that he designated all of Beaufort County as the National Reconstruction Era Monument. And that was his last executive order in office.
Wonderful.
Because Beaufort has those buildings and those sites still here.
And what I love about Beaufort was, you know, in the United States, there's always this, there's a discount of what contributions Black folks made, so that you all still celebrate Mr. Smalls, and that his family is still there, his great grandson, or I'm not sure, but he performed. Okay. So it's just beautiful. I see some hands raised. So go ahead. Let me see. I don't know who they are. Let me see. Can I see who they are? Can you all help me out there? Myra Kynes, you can go, and then Monique, we'll hear from you. Myra, what's your question?
I am calling from Massachusetts, but I actually hail from Chatham County, Savannah, Georgia.
Hey, girl.
And my grandfather and all his people are from, or were from, St. Helena's Island. So over the years, I've tried to do research, and I even bought a timeshare on Hilton Head so that I can go to the island. But the problem, as you know, is that a lot of the documentation was lost. And so I'm wondering if you know of a resource that will help me. I can get as far back as, you know, I have my grandfather's paperwork by doing the genealogy research, but I can't get past his father and his father's father from there. And just because I can't find any records. So I was wondering if you had any suggestions on how, if there are other resources other than the library, or because they said I have to go to, I have to go out of the town of Hilton Head to find the material. So I'm just looking for resources.
Have you made contact with the International African American Museum in Charleston yet?
I have not.
Okay, you want to, that's a good starting place. And who's your family up for St. Helena Island?
So my grandfather's last name was Truell, Truell.
Brenda Truell?
And William.
Are you related to Brenda Truell, Miss Blue?
I know like cousin Easter. I have names. So my so that's my family. And so my last aunt on my mother's side passed away a couple of months ago. And so
what was her name? You remember?
Yep. So Vera Blake. So there were.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And so we had a cousin on the island, Prince Truell, cousin Fred Truell. A lot of them built the houses.
Fred, Prince.
So I have a list of them all. But because we were we eventually, my mother brought us up to New England. I have to go back down south to do the deeper dive. And I don't want to monopolize the time, but I would love to talk to someone who's down there.
Well, give me a call. My number is 843-263-5229. Okay, and I will connect you to Brenda Truell, who's probably your cousin, and she may have more information that she can pass on to you. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So thank you, Ms. Kynes. I hope that you come gather with us again.
Thank you.
So I want to tell everybody too, before we get too carried away or until we get deeper into this whole thing. So this year was about 12 of us that went down, and it was very last minute. And some of those folks are on this call, so I hope that they'll jump in and share what their experience was. And I am going to work with these ladies to take a group down for next year. So when Black Women Gather, we'll be sponsoring a trip to the Gullah. And my intent is for us to arrive on Thursday, because it was and there's so much more to see when you go there. You go to Savannah, you want to go to Charleston. So I'll make it a 4-day event. We'll arrive on the 25th and leave on the 29th. So just hold tight and I'll get that information out to you.
Because Beaufort is
Okay,
really, Beaufort is strategically located. It's only 45 minutes away from Savannah, Georgia, and it's only 75 minutes away from Charleston.
Right.
You know, so you can get to either one very easily.
So much history in both. So
Yeah.
Moonyin, go ahead. What's your question?
Well, it's not necessarily a question, but it's a comment. I've been to Beaufort doing research on Harriet Tubman, and I do present her Combahee River Raid. You're familiar with that, right? Of
Yes,
course,
ma'am.
I know you are. And I was so excited. They named the bridge that she blew up for Harriet Tubman, right? And I wondered if you're familiar with the name Plowden. He was, in my mind, a very important figure in Beaufort, but haven't been able to find too much information on him, but he was one of the primary guides for Harriet Tubman to negotiate that river so that they could get behind the enemy lines. Have you ever heard of that name?
I've heard of the name, but I'm not familiar.
Well, and the last thing is, do you permit for your festival outside storytellers?
We do, but I noticed you had said something about Harriet Tubman. We have about 2-3 different reenactors, but there's always room for more. So yeah.
And on that note, can you talk about the play that we saw while we were down there that was written and directed by, it was so wonderful. You all, okay, I'm going to really call out some of these people. Gloria was there, Sharon was there, but go ahead, Pearly Sue, and tell us about the play and what was your vision for it, because it was just fabulous. And I'm hoping that we can figure out how to get the play here in the Philadelphia area. And I'm sure anybody else on this call, if you're trying to get some entertainment that would be valuable for your community, I think you really should consider this play. But go ahead, I'm talking too much.
Yeah. Well, growing up, 2 of my favorite times of years was Christmas time, of course, and Decoration Day. And where I live, even the house that I live in now, is a house that I grew up in until 3rd grade. And then, like I said, my mother built another house on the island. But when I got married, she gave me this property. So I'm back in the hood, back right on the corner. And where I live, I can sit on my porch and I can look, and I'm a block from the National Cemetery, Beaufort National Cemetery. Beaufort National Cemetery was established in 1862. President Lincoln himself gave the order for these 29 acres in Beaufort proper to be established as the final resting place for those who fought to preserve the Union. So that meant U.S. colored troops. So if you see a tombstone that says USCT, that stands for U.S. colored troops. Those are veterans of the Civil War. The first set of colored troops were first mustered here in Beaufort. We hear about in the movie Glory, the 54th and the 55th. You know, Denzel is another one that loves me, but I think you guys. Anywho, that movie, 80% of that story actually happened on these sacred grounds of Beaufort. And so that cemetery was set aside for that. During the war, Abraham Lincoln allowed, I think, like 129 Confederate soldiers that died in Florida. And those bodies were brought to the National Cemetery and reinterred there. At the end of just about around the end of the Civil War, there was a racetrack in Charleston that was called the Washington Racetrack Jockey Club. And it's where the aristocrats would boast their wealth in Charleston with their fine stallions and thoroughbreds. And at the end of the war, it became, almost at the closing of the war, it became a Confederate prison camp. The Union prisoners, white prisoners, were treated horrible. So you can imagine what they did with us. For us, they saw us as, when we were working their fields and nursing their babies, and we were just a piece of furniture. When we started fighting for our freedom, then we were all of a sudden, we were family members who had turned traitors. Isn't that ironic?
Yeah.
And so they did not give the honors of when they would die in these horrible conditions, the honor of being buried in an individual grave. They put them in a mass grave. So when the war ended on April 9th, 1865, just 3 days shy of exactly 4 years, because it started April 12th, 1861. The US colored troops, the 2nd Infantry, came through Charleston and realized that their comrades had not been given proper burial rights. And they dug up those 257 bodies and reinterred them in individual graves, decorated the graves with shells and flowers and flags. That's where we got the term decoration from. Took them 2 weeks to do that. And at the end of those 2 weeks, they planned a commemoration, which became the first Decoration Day / Memorial Day as we know it today, started by newly freed Blacks. They said the first parade had almost 10,000 participants and almost 4,000 children. And what they did, that old racetrack is where they buried, they made that the cemetery. And they put a little fence around it, whitewashed it, and they had this sign over it, Martyrs of the Rebellion. And they marched around that. You had the US colored troops, you had some of the white Union soldiers, you had some of the white abolitionists, but basically it was Black folks. And after that, they had speeches, they had horse races, picnics, and that became Decoration Day / Memorial Day as we know it today. Eventually, those bodies were once the National Cemetery was well established, they moved those bodies, 257 bodies, and they reinterred them in the Beaufort National Cemetery. So that celebration moved to Beaufort. That's why Beaufort was the biggest. Decoration Day here was one of the biggest celebrations in the nation, Black or white, was here in Beaufort for Decoration Day. So Reba can tell you, Reba's a little older than I am. It was a big thing. By the time daybreak would come, you literally could not drive the streets of Beaufort because colored folks came from everywhere. They came home. We didn't celebrate 4th of July. That was no big thing for us growing up. I was good and grown and old by the time we started doing anything with 4th of July. But Decoration Day was it. If you had moved to New York, if you moved to Philadelphia, DC, wherever you went, you had to come home. And that's part of our African tradition, is honoring the deceased. And so we come back home, people would come by train, they would come by bus, they would come by cars. One lady talked about one of our suburbs, part of Beaufort is Burton. It's only about 5 or 10 miles to come in. But she put a red wagon on layaway for a whole year at Western Auto, for a whole year, so she would have a way to bring her babies into town for Decoration Day. My grandaunt used to tell a story of my grandmother when she was courting, that her beau came with a white oxen to bring her into town for Decoration Day. They used to have a train that came from Augusta, Georgia to Beaufort. They used to call it the up train and the down train, loaded with people coming down for Decoration Day. And if you didn't get a chance to come, they would line, the people who couldn't come would line the railroad track just to watch the people on the train coming down for Decoration Day. You had steamboats that came from Charleston and Savannah. Captain Sam and the Waving Girl would be loaded down, people dressed up in evening gowns, 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, coming to Beaufort for Decoration. And when that, and because it was basically celebrated by Blacks and Northern whites, the powers that be in Beaufort at the time, with systematic racism, shut the festival down, Decoration down, almost till it was just a drag. They didn't allow because the carnival would come 2 weeks before Decoration Day. So they stopped the carnival from coming into town. So, the young people, we lost interest. And that's when Mother Pazantos picked up the mantle to come and establish this new festival called Gullah Festival to recreate that atmosphere of celebration. So we did a play, I wrote a play called Decoration Day, Memorial Day like it used to be, to give the people who are coming to Gullah Festival so that you understand the foundation for this festival. We're not just here to have a good time, and that's wonderful, family, great. But we need to be able to tell our children our legacy, that we have a rich history. And slavery was a hiccup in that, but it did not stop the greatness. And we just came from another festival up in called Jamestown, celebrating in Florence County. And one of the saying was, we may have came here empty-handed, but we didn't come here empty-headed. And so that's what we do. We write plays and that celebrate our history, our rich, the good, the bad, and ugly, because we need all of that. And it's not to show the ugly, to say to point fingers at everybody else, whoever they is, because we always say they did this and they did that. No. I want y'all to see, but whatever they did, we're still here. Not only are we still here surviving, but we are thriving. They took their best shot at us, and we're still here. And what Gullah Geechee is that trophy that said we won, and we're still winning. They may keep trying, but we ain't going nowhere. We're here.
Persevere.
And that's why you gotta see this play. So anybody who's out there who has some means of helping us, you guys know each other, of course you do. But wait a minute, anyone who has any ideas or who has connections in the theater world, let us know so that we can help them get, because it was fabulous. It was, even though it was that, around the holiday, the stories were there, and it was just all, I mean, you are so creative. You could laugh, you could cry, you could sing along. You just felt it. So it's a really good play. So good job. Go ahead, Mr. Carol.
Yeah. Just want to show our connection. I'm glad to meet you, Anita Prather, Ms. Prather. We don't talk about it because the family doesn't talk about it that much. But my son-in-law is the second great grandson of Robert Smalls.
Mm-hmm.
And his name is Robert Smalls Rhodes. So the Smalls married into the Rhodes family, and his father is it's his father's grandfather. So he's his second great grandfather. So, but we very rarely talk about it, So my youngest daughter is married to him. And so we know the history. I actually have pictures in my home. I keep a lot of the records here from his side of the family, from the Rhodes side of the family. And a lot of that stuff is here at our home because they don't like to take it abroad because he's in the State Department. They're in the State Department. I can't show the picture. There's a picture of him. You're not gonna be able to see it because it's on my phone. But when we went to the African American Museum, and he stands beside that picture, he looks exactly like him. It's weird, when he gets there. And on June 4th, he put up a picture on Facebook, which is one of the first times. The reason we don't talk about it, unless they talk about it, we don't talk about it. But on June 4th, on his page on Facebook, he put up a picture of him side by side of him and Robert Smalls. That when he became the one of the senators. I mean, I guess. Congressman. Yeah, right, congressman. And that picture, when they look side by side, look exactly alike. And what's strange about it to us is that how DNA is so strong, because they went to when they got out of Hampton, that's where my daughter met him, in Hampton University. And he lived in Ann Arbor, Michigan. But when they met, and then we never knew anything about it for years because their side of the family never talked about it. And then slowly but surely we started hearing about that they were connected, to Robert Smalls. And so, and that's what his name is. His name is Robert Smalls Rhodes. And so he's his second grandson. So right now they're in the State Department. They've been in the State Department for 20 something years now. But yeah, we know the story pretty well. A lot we don't know, but we know the story pretty well.
He has to tell it. He has to tell, because let me say this to us. A lot of times we didn't want to talk about the horrors of slavery or Jim Crow era, or what, all the horrors of what we went through with the civil rights movement and all that kind of stuff. And so our kids don't realize the power that they have. And our Black kids are killing themselves at a 53% uprising in suicide.
Yeah.
We got to tell them that you have some roots beyond Cardi B talking about a walk.
Amen.
I'm gonna just be real. That's all I can
right.
do. When our young people don't know that the oldest human being known to mankind is a Black woman from Ethiopia, Africa, then you can equate all of that greatness to your genitals. Really, Cardi B? And then we get mad because we say, well, they didn't teach us that. Why do we keep waiting for folks who we say don't like us to teach us about our greatness? That don't make no sense to me. That's insanity. We don't have any excuses anymore because a telephone is a computer. You have it on your watch as a computer. We can go learn about anything we want to learn about. And when our history become important enough for us, we'll stop blaming they for not teaching us about us.
Excellent, excellent point. And she makes that point in the play very clearly. So we got to get your son-in-law talking and bragging and boasting. I mean, because, you know, I wish I could do a show of hands, like how many people before this call today even knew who Robert Smalls was. I mean, I knew about him because I taught, myself. It's not that we learned this stuff in school. If you didn't go on your own to learn it or, just have the luxury of taking a Black history class. But you think they want to teach us about, somebody needs to mute, please.
You can be heard.
Okay, I don't know who it is, and I'm kind of on my own here. But anyway, so why would white America teach us about an enslaved Black man outsmarting the Confederate Army and stealing a ship in the middle of the night? They're not going to tell you that because they want us to believe that we were just sitting around, scratching our head and being very docile and happy to be enslaved. And that's why when they talk about not wanting to teach CRT, we know what they're really not wanting to teach. They don't want to teach about Robert Smalls. They don't want to teach about Denmark Vesey, Gabrielle Prosser. They'll talk a little bit about Harriet because they can't help it because it's out there. And of course, they won't tell you about Frederick Douglass. They'll tell you how, about his abolition activities, but they won't tell you what he said about the 4th of July. So it's up to us to teach ourselves these things. So thank you so much, Ms. Pearlie Sue. And the carols, as always, is wonderful, wonderful, wonderful to see you. So hang with us, don't leave. I have put up some pictures. I'm going to put that picture up again. And I see that I have 4 hands. I see you all. I'm going to get you. I'm going to put that picture up.
And I want to say to the person that asked about the Daughters of the Dust, it was filmed here.
Okay.
It's a good starting place, but don't stop with just that. It's so deep, much deeper than even that.
And
so,
High on the Hog too. That's another good one.
Yeah.
I'm going to put this picture back up, and if you could just talk for a minute about what's happening here. Like this is Cleo. Tell them which one is Cleo and how old.
This is right there, Cleopatra with that Afro wig.
And how old is she?
88. 88, she sings with the Gullah Traveling Theater. She's one of my performers. I'm so excited about Mother Cleo. And like Reba said, she's been with the Gullah Festival since it started.
Since the beginning.
Yeah. She worked with DSS. She's a minister. I mean, powerful woman of God. I mean, she used to sing all over, travel. One time used to travel around with Reverend Ike. She was one of his featured soloists. And just a wealth of information, just such a inspiration for us. She's really the matriarch now of the Gullah Kinfolk Traveling Theater, and always volunteering.
Yes.
I mean, volunteering, doing physical labor.
And those other pictures there, we are at, these are just pictures that I have put together. I have a lot more pictures and I should have thought to have them ready for this. I'm sorry I didn't. But you can see there's Pearlie Sue giving wisdom to a young man. I remember that conversation. Yeah, but tell them where you are. That's the land.
We're down there at the rededication mark of the landing coming in, Igbo landing coming in like Reba was talking about, coming in off of the slave boats. And so that's right there in Port Royal, maybe about 2-3 miles from where the waterfront is, and about 1.5 miles from Paris Island Marine Corps.
Marker there.
The marker there, and it's let me see. I'm gonna see if I can
Okay.
give
Fine.
you send you a picture that you can put up.
And those are some of these other pictures are ladies who were on the who went down there with me. There's Gloria Good. I guess you guys can't see where my cursor is, but Gloria Goodman, Maisha Amen, Sharon McGahee, and that is Mother Cleo in that picture in the far right-hand corner. Is that right?
Yeah, that's Mother Cleo. Well, will be to my left, then left to the top.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna send some pictures now. Let me see if I can.
So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you real quick, and I'll try and pull up some more pictures as we go on because we have some questions. Miss West, your question. Miss West? Miss West, if you can unmute yourself, then we can hear you. I'm sorry, I'm saying Miss West. It's Tracy Wise. Forgive me. I don't know where I'm getting West from. She's like,
Unmute me. Unmute me. Go ahead, unmute me.
Unmuted, Tracy.
Hi, I'm sorry. How you doing, ladies?
oh,
Thank you so much for this. I appreciate you greatly, all of you. I am a history student, and I do follow Dr. Greg Carr, who is the chairman of the Africana Studies Department at Howard. And I have learned of Robert Smalls, I think for the first time through him. I've been studying history for years, and I do share it a lot out to the younger people in my lives, my child, her cohorts, and what have you. All of what you guys have been doing, these plays, is some of them on where I can purchase them through video or some kind of way through online. Is that possible? I know you're looking to do more, but do you have some already?
We're gonna get some. Well, we do have some. Girl, I'm so technically challenged. We do have some that we're getting ready to download, and where you can go online. You can Google us and you can see snippets of what we do.
Definitely.
And I'm the worst person when it comes to
let me put up your that might help. Is your information on the promo that you sent me?
Yeah, yes it is.
The website.
Yes it is.
May I ask one? May I ask one more question?
Sure,
I have studied or read about June, I think it was a redemption or right after Reconstruction, when the president after Lincoln was starting to give back land to plantation owners that people of color had already bought and took over, especially down in the South Carolina islands. Do you know anything about that, ma'am?
Yeah, at the end of Reconstruction,
yes, ma'am.
Right, I guess maybe 1897. Some, different people say Reconstruction is still going on. And, yes. I tend to lean more to that. But when a lot of the gains that we made from 1861 to maybe right up around 1887, 1897, whatever, started losing because Jim Crow law came into place and a lot of things got reversed. But the interesting thing in Beaufort County, we became landowners immediately.
Right.
We became, because when the Union came, Beaufort became the headquarters for the Union. Cotton and a lot of those crops were left in the fields. And so what the Union did, it says, now we will pay you for the stuff that you were doing the day before for no pay. And then when those plantations, because like I said, all the white folks evacuated, so they weren't here, and their Confederate money was of no value here. So when they, their properties went up for tax sale, those former enslaved Africans bought that property.
Mhm.
So we weren't sharecroppers here. We were landowners from the very beginning. And
Right.
land is power. And the Gullah culture is a land-based culture.
Yes.
And so we've lost a lot since because of tax sales. People leave here because of racism or whatever, but it's every racism. So they left here, didn't think the property that grandma and grandpa and those struggled to purchase with nothing, because I'm going to New York. I don't want to talk that country stuff. I don't want to talk that Gullah Geechee. They went to New York, built every place else. And so grandma struggles and granddaddy or whatever pays the taxes. And then when they die, nobody pays the taxes. And the property is heirs property. So nobody pays it. And before you know it, it's up on tax sale. And the white developers come, and you can't be mad at them because they see the value in what we didn't appreciate.
Right.
And so we've lost a lot of property to developers, not just because of white greed, but because of black neglect. So if I'm gonna tell the truth, let's tell the whole truth.
Yes,
Wow.
ma'am.
Oh, one real quick,
My nails are wet.
Carol's just sent me this. So,
Wow.
Tom, did you and Gloria want to talk about this picture real quick?
Yeah, my son-in-law put that up in this past June. That was one of the first times I actually saw him put a picture up, but that came from when we were down at the African-American Museum in DC. And you know, when he's standing beside the statue and all that stuff, you could really see it. Because he's what, 40 now, 40 something now. And so it's amazing how the face structure and all is just amazing.
Yeah, it is.
That's
Yeah.
one of our favorite pictures.
Why, thank you. So I can share a copy of that with Anita and Reba. That's okay.
Mhm.
Yes.
Is that okay, Tom?
I'm not 100% sure. Let me wait and find out.
Okay, cool. All right.
That's good. Everything good.
That's beautiful. All right.
It's kind of weather one day.
So let me. Miss Wise, did you have another question, or was that all that you wanted to ask? And I'm going to put up a promo in a minute, but that has all of Pearly Sue's information. And Reba, if you have something you want me to post, the festival, just send it to me and I'll put that up too. Are you good, Miss Tracy?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for everything. And I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you so much for coming. And I'm a Howard grad, and Pearly Sue is a Howard grad. So we are happy that you recognize Greg Carr. And he has actually been a guest with us before. So we hope to have him back again. So thank you. He's doing great work. And if you guys aren't following him, you really should. Nubian, it comes on every Saturday at 12 o'clock, but they also have a bunch of other stuff that they do. It's on YouTube. And
narrative.com started with a K. Narrative.com is awesome. You learn so much history. But thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
So if you Google Greg Carr and Karen Hunter, you'll get all the information that you need. All right, thank you. Ms. Wise, please come again. So I see two more hands, Lenny and Erica. So Lenny, what's your question?
Well, my question really is, when is the book coming out? It's so important to not keep this under the bushel. I love you ladies for all that you've given and shared. Don't wait. I've been a part of other things that have been very important like this, and we waited and waited, and we missed an opportunity to really get firsthand stories, and that's so important. I mean, a lot of people don't really take value unless they can talk to people, and when you miss that, having written down is important. We're at a time now where our history is being systematically erased. In Texas, they just passed a law that is no longer slavery, it's involuntary relocation, which is, that stuff we put for fertilizer. Don't let that happen to your rich history. Our history needs it. It needs it because, I mean, you would think that over time you get so much more history, and it seems so much of it is disappearing, and that's criminal. So I thank you for all you shared with us.
What?
They spell, okay. I was just making sure.
I'm
Judy,
sorry.
that's Judy. Judy, can you please? Okay, go ahead. No, that was somebody else talking. And you make a good point, Lenny, and I think Pearlie Sue and Reba referenced it earlier that, you know, how do we keep the momentum going? And Reba talked about it a lot during our tour. How do we keep young people engaged? And that was one of the beautiful things about the festival. There were young people there and they were definitely embracing the roots of their history. But are they holding on to the land? When, you know, grandma dies, do they understand the importance of in the land and not letting people have it? You know, are we fighting back against gentrification? I don't know if you all saw the movie, which I strongly encourage that you do. High on the Hog is a Netflix movie. And at one point they are in Gullah country, and I thought it was South Carolina, but it's North Carolina. And, you know, they were putting a highway through what should be protected land. And, you know, that's what has happened to Black neighborhoods historically. So did you want to, either you ladies want to speak to how we keep young people engaged?
Well, you know what? Stop worrying about whether or not they want to hear the story. Tell it to them anyway. A lot of stuff my grandmother told me, I didn't want to hear that, man. But Lord knows I'm so glad she said it. Because it takes us to get to a point where if all of us go back in time and think about when we were 12 and when we were 14 and 15, we didn't want to hear about this stuff. Why you want to talk? I don't want to hear about that old slavery, so them people hanging us. I don't want to hear about what. But see, we have to start telling it from a different angle now.
Right. We can't be afraid to talk to them.
We kept it. We're still here. Don't look at it as if we were weaklings. We are strong people. Look at all that has happened to us here, and we're still here. Yeah. And when we start teaching, that's why drug dealers and pimps are idolized by children, because they see them as power figures, even though it's negative. When we start talking about all that the master did, then we make us look impotent, as if we don't have no power. But if grandma could be raped and turn right around and nurse the same baby of the person that raped her and not poison that baby, that's power.
That's right.
That's power.
We can't be afraid to embrace the truth.
And we have to tell our children.
We've got to tell our truth.
And the thing about young people, they have such a powerful spirit of discernment. They can't stand fake. So if you come fake, you ain't gonna reach it. I'm just real with them. I tell them the good, the bad, and the ugly. Don't tell me what the white man did to you. I don't want to hear that. You already know he got a plan against you. So what's your plan? Just like when you go out there to play football, you know your opponent, his job is to keep you from making that touchdown. What do? You set up an offense play. You already know the enemy's there. So we already know it. We know that the police system and the justice system is against us. So what are we gonna do? We ain't gonna commit suicide. We got to make our kids put on their big boy and big girl drawers. This ain't going nowhere. Corona ain't going nowhere. All of this racism stuff ain't going. The word of God didn't say we perish because of racism or inequality, because of lack of knowledge. We don't know who we are. We don't know the power that we possess. We don't know that we're not going to be great. We already are great. We don't know that we can never be equal because we are the first. How can you be the first and be equal to everybody else? Tell our kids who they are. And right. Our history doesn't start with enslavement in America. Our history goes 6,000 plus years back. Tell them about the great kings of Africa. And then we still have to tell them, you know what? White folks ain't had that kind of power to bring all us off of that, unless some of us was involved. So black on black crime ain't just started here in America. It started back there when our greedy chiefs and chieftains were selling their own people. We have to tell them the whole truth. And it's only the whole truth that's going to make us free.
Excellent points. And I think this next person who's up to speak is a young Howard woman. And because she's a young woman and she's here and, you know, fits right into where we are in this conversation. So hi, Erica.
Hi, how are you all?
Good.
And thank you for providing this space. Yes, I'm a recent Howard graduate. Partially thanks to When Black Women Gather, they like helped me pay off the last of my balance so that I was able to walk across the stage. I found out I was graduating 3 days before graduation. So thank you so much. Yeah, we really show out for each other, and that warms my heart to see. I kind of had 2 questions. So one, I'm wondering, I've been hearing a lot about the issues with like the land in Gullah country, and kind of like just rumblings about land issues, like even in other places, like Hawaii, Native Hawaiian people having their land taken, people of Puerto Rico, and I've been seeing the same thing in Gullah country. So I'm wondering, one, what is something that we can do to stop now that we know that it's happening? What is something that we can do? And I'll ask my next question after that.
I want to give a shout out to Teresa White, who is a native from Savannah, Georgia. She came over here as a journalist, Beaufort Gazette, and now she has an organization that helping to save Gullah Geechee property and also redeem it. So people who are not able to pay the taxes and it goes up a tax sale, they've stepped in, you know, and raised money. So please look up Teresa White with Gullah Geechee property. And if you can donate to that cause, please do so. She's not just talking the talk, but she's doing something. The second thing is this. What we run into is a lot of properties are heirs property. So like I said, grandma dies and nobody wants to pick up the mantle, or maybe 1 or 2 will continue to try to pay it. And then those folks that go away from someplace else and then they come back, they don't have anything else to do, they come back home, and all of a sudden they want a piece of the property. Well, that's fine. And then what they'll do is they'll start, the developers will come in, and all they have to do is find 1 or 2 people.
Exactly.
And the whole property then they go to court and it has to be sold. That's how we lost. We're losing a lot of property. So again, can't just put it on white folks. Because if you're gonna ask Pearlie a question, I'm gonna just give you the whole deal. And a lot of stuff we don't want to hear, but we got to hear it so we can heal. And so that's what's happening. So Black folks, we have, because my family, we've lost something like that. Not because somebody sold it off, but weren't able, or people get to arguing and then they get mad and they don't pay. And we lost, you know, we lose a grandma's house, or we lose an auntie's piece of property or something, because people just argue and fuss and fight over the property instead of coming. And that's what they hope, and that's what they want to keep us fussing and fighting. And so we've lost a lot of property like that. But we have to step up to the plate, and let's find out if people need, and sometimes pride, you know, you don't want to tell people that you don't have the money to pay the taxes, because if you're a single mother and you're trying to keep food, the food stamps done ran out, and you still got 2 more weeks left in the month, and this person need that, and you decide, well, whether I'm gonna pay the taxes on the property or whether I'm gonna feed my kids, then sometimes feed my kids become what I have to do right now. And then the people on the outside looks like, she doesn't let her mama property, and don't know the backstory. So let's find out, you know, some properties, and people are having trouble. And it comes out, the listing comes out like maybe about 2-3 months before, like in Beaufort County, our tax sale is always the first Monday in October. And so come down, you see Black people's property, and if you got the money, bid on it, and then find out who the owner is and work out something so that they can redeem their property.
And I know years ago, I used to work at Penn Center, and Penn Center was instrumental in trying to help a lot of people maintain their property, keep their property. They were very good at that. So if you're interested in Gullah property, you may try Penn Center as well.
Yeah. And then another thing too, let me say this to Black folks. A lot of times we are land rich and cash poor.
Yeah.
And property, having it, and if it's not making any money for you, then it becomes a liability. we have to start educating our people, especially people who have waterfront property, a valuable piece of property. Let's lease it. You don't have to sell it. Thank God for my pastor, the late Dr. Alfred Givens, but his wife, they're brilliant people. And they owned about 1,500 acres in Colleton County. And they lease it. They have two cell towers. And he used to carry around a flip phone. He said, Mr. President, you see this phone right here? Well, folks walk around with them big old expensive phones, and I'm making $1 million with this right here, a flip phone. and he said, because as long as y'all keep making them telephone calls and it's pinging on them towers on my property, my grandkids and my great-grandkids will have money. And that's the truth. He got two towers. He has an airstrip on his property. The railroad track runs through his property. He used to put about 2 acres worth of collard greens so he could use it, be taxed as farm property as opposed to regular property. He was brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. And so we have to start teaching our people that it's not just hold on to it and pay taxes, or it has to be sold and let go. No, the middle part of that is leasing. And I found out that when I went to the Bahamas, and the guy said, you see that Holiday Inn building? Holiday Inn owned the building, but I own the land. And I never knew that you could lease your property. But we perish because of lack of knowledge. We got to know. And if you know something, tell somebody.
Yeah.
Don't keep it to yourself, tell somebody.
Yeah. You had another question, Erica?
Yeah, I had one more. So I actually, one of my final papers at Howard, I wrote about the connection between Sierra Leone and South Carolina and the old Gullah country. Because my father's side of the family is from Sierra Leone, and then my mother's side of the family is Gullah. So I'm trying to like fill that information in. I just came back from Sierra Leone in March for spring break. I went with my dad and my uncle, and I would like to come down to South Carolina before the end of the year as well, and just continue like learning all the information. I'm wondering if you have any resources about like Sierra Leone and the connection between Sierra Leone and South Carolina specifically, because I know they're direct. Some of them are very like direct descendants.
But can we go back to the fact that you said your mother is from Gullah?
Yeah, my mother, her maternal side of the family, the Livingstons, are from South Carolina.
Okay.
What part? What part of South Carolina are they from?
I want to say like around Beaufort area, but also maybe some St. Helens Island as well.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you said that, because we're working, we went, the Gullah Kinfolk Traveling Theater, we were invited by the mayor of Freetown and to come over in 2019 to be a part of her annual mayor's ball. And we performed there. And so we went with Thimble Tick, Amadou Masali, organized the trip, and 53 of us ended up going. And we were there for 10 days. And we met some young people who were students of the university there in Freetown. They were tourism students. They are tourism students. And they completed 3 years, and they were waiting to finish up their last year. You know, Corona stepped in and all that kind of crazy thing. So we just, in 2018, the University of South Carolina Beaufort campus here opened up one of the newest schools of tourism on Hilton Head Island. It's part of the University of South Carolina Beaufort. We have one of the first Black chancellors at the University of South Carolina, and he's from the Congo, Dr. Al Panu. And so when I came back from Sierra Leone, I was so excited about these young people we met because they served as interns on the tour for us. And I started talking to him about them and getting them over as exchange students. So we've been working for 2 years, praise the Lord. If y'all know anybody at the State Department, praise the Lord. We're at the last hump. They are now fully enrolled in the University of South Carolina Beaufort campus. Tuition, everything is paid for. But now we're waiting for their visa interview. And they're supposed to start classes on August 18th, but the visa interview is not till October. So if anybody, y'all know anybody, we've been working with Congressman Clyburn's office to try to see if we can expedite their visa interview. But these young people will be coming over. And Erica, please come on down December the 1st through the 4th. We're having our first, in fact, let me see if y'all can see it, and hopefully you'll put it up. Our first, this will be our 20th year doing our Christmas celebration, but this year we're adding a symposium.
Put that up again so people can see it. I was sharing the screen.
Okay, let me see. It's backwards when I show it.
The other way.
But anyway, it's going to be the first, the inaugural reunion of 4 Gullah Geechee homecomings starting from 1989 to when we went in 2019 of Sierra Leone homecoming. So it's 4 of them. The first one was, like I said, 1989. That's when Dr. Emery Campbell, who was the former director of Penn Center and one of the first commissioners of the Gullah Geechee Heritage Corps. He and some others went after President Momo from Sierra Leone came over after he found out about the connection through Joe Apollo, who was a Peace Corps worker that trained at Penn Center, white Caucasian man that came from Oklahoma, and then went over to Sierra Leone, was supposed to be there for 1 year, but ended up staying, I think, I forget how many years, over 10 years, I know. And
there's a picture of him in the museum in Freetown.
Yeah, Joe Apollo.
Yeah.
And we get angry about white folks, but I tell you what, sometimes white folks is the one that tell us more about our history than we know about our history. So don't dismiss it. Take what they know, put it what you know, and then you'll know more than all of it. That's how we do that. And so anyway, we went and we like I said, it's been 4 homegoings. Like I said, 1989 was the first one. The next one was 1995, when a song that was sung in Georgia was taught by Miss Mary Morant's grandmother, taught it to her. And it was completely in Mende. And that song was able to trace them from Georgia to all the way back to Sierra Leone to a little girl in Sierra Leone, first time ever. And so they were able to trace their ancestral roots back to the village that song came from. And then in 2005, Martin Polite got a chance to go back to Sierra Leone. And that's the Priscilla story. Her great 7 generations earlier, they think her great, whatever them greats is, grandmother name is Benda. She was about 10 years old and came over on a slave ship in 1756. And she was bought by Elias Ball. They kept very meticulous records. So some 7 generations down, his great, whatever grandson it was, Edwin Ball, went into the records, the old slave records, and was able to trace Mr. Martin, who was a Black man in Charleston, all the way back through those records, back to Benda, to 1756. The movie, Alex Haley's movie, Roots, was oral history. This was an actual paper trail, first one ever. And that homecoming was in 2005. And then we went in 2019. So we're going to bring all 4 of those groups back together, reunion. Like I said, it was the brainchild of Amadou Massabi to bring a reunion, and we're going to connect it to our Christmas celebration. So it'll start that Thursday with the symposium, with those 4 panels of participants that went on those 4 groups. Tell me what was your feeling when you got there? What have you been doing since? And we're going to talk about all that, share that. By that time, we hope our 4 students from Sierra Leone will be here to be part of that discussion, because they were a big part of the 2019. And they are the answer to where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? Economic development through heritage tourism. Gullah Geechee cuisine is one of the fastest growing cuisines now in the nation.
Talk about it. That was one of the questions I was going to ask you. What makes your food so special?
Greasy. I tell folk, you know, part of some of what you know, you do a little everything with your Gullah folks. And so, you know, I've been cooking since I've been 3. So I tell folk, when you come to eat my food, don't be a little diet. Because the first 3 letters of the word diet is D-I-E. So
Oh,
if you're one of
gosh.
them diets, don't eat my food. And my granddaughter vegetarian vegan, but grandma ain't get that memo yet. She
What
tried
about,
hard.
is rice the main staple? Like
Yes, yes, ma'am. Rice. That's our connections to Africa for us was rice.
so
That's why they came.
most of the people there from Angola, the original.
Sierra Leone. Sierra
Oh,
Leone.
Sierra Leone.
Sierra Leone.
Sierra Leone is the main connection. Most African Americans came to Bounce Island. Even if you came from if they brought you from interior, they brought you down, you know, Bounce Island. Then bring you. Most of us that ended up in America came through Sierra Leone. Some of the others ended up going to, you know, South America and the Caribbean and that kind of stuff. We came to Sierra Leone, through Sierra Leone. Yeah.
I remember when I was growing up, my father was originally from Savannah, Georgia, and he loved rice. And so when he married Mama from Sea Island, coast of Sea Island, you know, she cooked some rice. And every meal, Daddy had to have rice. I remember this one time in particular, Mama fixed some mashed potatoes. Daddy said, well, that's fine, but where's my rice? So she still had to fix Daddy some rice. Yes, indeed. But I forgot to mention that my nephew, Thomas Roy Hicks, is he's the president. He heads up the festival now. And I wanted you all, I know you might not be able to see it, but our website, if you could go to originalgullahfestival.org.
I put it in the chats for everybody. The link is in the chat. No, I was saying the link is in the chats for everyone.
Okay, good. Yeah. Because we even have the dates up there for next year. Okay.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on Reba, I mean, a Sunday meal for us would be, you know, my grandmother would do a chuck roast, a ham, fried chicken was always, whether fried chicken was just about every Sunday. Yeah. And you had potato salad,
red rice.
You had macaroni and cheese, collard greens, and then the collard greens had as much meat in it as it had green. You probably had another vegetable, straight, you know, some other. And you think that would be enough? Honey, with the rice.
That's it.
It ain't supper ain't finished yet till you got rice. And when I went to Sierra Leone, we had rice for breakfast, rice for lunch, rice for dinner. And I was ready for it for supper time too. Didn't make no difference.
So that's interesting because I put in the chats for everybody. Please check out the documentary on Netflix called High on the Hog. It is so wonderful. It's like I forgot the guy's first name. His last name was Bourdain, the guy who used to go around.
Like Anthony Bourdain. Yeah.
Yeah.
You gonna see my boy BJ Dennis.
He's fabulous. And he's going around the world connecting food with Africans, whether it was in New York. I mean, he starts out in Ghana talking about the yams, like we don't even know what a yam is. And I think he's in Benin when he becomes very emotional, but you got to see it. But he talks about the main, and I learned this from going to Charleston, that in Charleston, at least, the main crop there was rice. And they brought in enslaved people from Angola because that was their specialty. The white folks couldn't figure out how to grow rice, but somebody figured out that they knew how to do it in Angola. So that's why when you keep saying rice, I keep thinking. So what was the main crop in Beaufort?
Yeah, rice.
Oh, rice.
They had rice. They had 3 things: rice, and most of the time that was the Carolina Gold rice because it's
gold. Carolina Gold.
It was worth its weight in gold, and they came and got us from Sierra Leone, places like Sierra Leone, Angola, that kind of place, the rice coast, because of our expertise in rice.
Right.
It made the plantation owners in South Carolina the richest colony between the 13 original colonies. In fact, the wealth that was produced because of the intellect and the intelligence of rice producers, these master cultivators, that came from Sierra Leone and the other rice countries, produced more wealth than the other 12 colonies put together.
Isn't that amazing? That's amazing.
Some of the wealthiest people was in Beaufort County, Charleston County, and up near Myrtle Beach, Horry County. Those were Georgetown area. Those were the 3 rice producing places. They paid a higher price for us. They didn't want them from the other places. They wanted people who came in with the expertise.
And they worked them till their death.
Yeah.
I mean, they died very young. It was very dangerous.
Very dangerous.
And it's just amazing.
Taking swampland that was infested with water moccasins and alligators and malaria carrying mosquitoes. But one of the things people may not know, the sickle cell, that was a trait that a lot of us came with, protected us against malaria.
That's interesting. And I think when people think of, the main staples for slavery, they think tobacco, they think cotton, everybody thinks cotton first. I don't think it's until you get introduced to the history in South Carolina that you recognize rice, and to think that it was the richest, area in the country. It's just, who thinks that? Nobody thinks that. So that was interesting.
Yeah. And even the cotton that we had in Beaufort County,
yes.
Some people say Savannah, Georgia, but Beaufort County definitely was called Sea Island long fiber cotton. It was so, only the rich. I tell folks all the time when I'm storytelling, when Queenie over there in England got in her bed, she had to have some bricks in her drawers, because when she got on that cotton, she just kept sliding, because it was just that silky. It was supposed to be even silkier than 100% Egyptian cotton.
Wow.
And it was only grown on these sea islands, especially Bluffton, Hilton Head area of Beaufort County. And then we had indigo, that blue dye. Levi didn't know nothing but no blue for no dungarees and stuff. That blue dye. And they had to put that urine on it, extract that dye out of those indigo leaves. Very dangerous, very toxic to the lungs. But we did all of that. And those were the 3 main cash crops that made Beaufort. They were filthy rich here in comparison to the other colonies.
Isn't that amazing? All on our back. Free labor. We'd all be rich if we have free labor, right?
Oh yeah.
And I think it's fascinating and how timely that here's Erica with both connections, Sierra Leone and Gullah, and you have that program. So you two I will definitely put you two in touch. You definitely need to connect. And when those students come, Erica, I'm sure they would love to see you. You could be an ambassador from Howard and go see those.
Yeah. They are awesome young people. I tell you, I guess one of the things, because like I said, for 2 years, we've been nonstop trying to fit. I came up to DC. This was just before the Corona thing. They told us that it was here. I just gotten back from, like I said, we got back from Sierra Leone the 8th of January. And I'm traveling all up and down, all over the place, doing storytelling. I was up in DC. And so I said, you know what, let me call the ambassador. I didn't even know the man's name. I Googled it. I said, give me the ambassador for Washington, DC from Sierra Leone. I called the lady. I said, can I speak to the ambassador? She said, I said, well, my name is Anita St. Crazy. They know me, so I'm pretty something kind of storyteller from South Carolina. I just came from Sierra Leone. I got some students I want to bring. I need to talk to the ambassador. So that was on Wednesday. She said, the ambassador's not in. He's out. I said, well, okay. I said, but just tell him I called here. So here come Friday morning, I get this call from the ambassador. Said, oh, I apologize. I said, sir, you don't know me. You don't know if I was some crazy woman. And some folks may think that, but anyway, and we talked about 30 minutes. And so he had worked for some 20-something years with the New York Police Department. So when I talked to him about these young people and their hunger for education, and I look at our kids over here and how we just take for granted, we got to fight with our kids to be motivated. I said, we need them young people over here. They think I'm bringing them over here, to help them finish up their education. That's going to be all that's going to be taken care of. I said, I want them to put some fire, behind my grandkids and stuff, to take their education so much for granted. And so I'm
trying to do that for my cousin now. One of my cousins is trying to come here from Sierra Leone so he can finish.
So what's your cousin's name? What's his name?
His name is Patrick.
Okay, we're gonna work on Patrick. Will be the next one. We get these 4 here, and we figured out how to do this thing. Because you see, the thing about me, I tell people I'm B to the second power. I'm just a bold believer. I just keep fumbling until something works.
B to the second power. I like that. I'm showing for you all. I put her information in the chats, but if you want more information on how to get in touch with Pearly Sue, there's the information. And you see on here, it tells you all. And you can see she's a master storyteller, and I can attest for her writing. I mean, the play was just fantastic. So all of that. And let me see if I can grab a flyer for the Gullah Festival. So if you want, I can email you that information. So don't feel like you have to write it down real fast. And I did put her email in the chat, so you can reach out to her that way. All righty. Okay. Wow, this has been such an engaging conversation, which I knew that it would be. Gloria Goodman, are you on this call? Sharon McGahee, are you still with us? Joyce Davis, you had a question. Do you still have a question? Thank you, Erica.
Hi, I'm Joyce Davis.
Hi, Joyce.
I just wanted to say, as they talked about rice, I am from South Carolina, and I went to the Low Country, Colleton County, to teach. And that is how I discovered about the rice fields. And they still have the Colleton County Rice Festival every year. And it's rice, all kinds of rice. It's a great event.
I remember one year the Gullah Festival held a rice tasting contest. And we had any kind of rice you can imagine. We had chicken and rice. We had hoppin' john, which is peas and rice. We had red beans and rice, that's a New Orleans dish, but we had crab and rice. We had shrimp perlo, any kind of rice you can imagine. It was delicious. And I think Cleo won the best tasting rice for a hoppin' john. It was delicious.
So now what's the difference between hoppin' johns and now you guys gotta help me, Caribbean folks, because in Puerto Rico, I think they say peas and rice. But
they do the pigeon peas and rice.
No, you gotta say beans and rice or rice and peas. I'm like, y'all confuse me. So all of that. And and it connects back to what you were saying, even with your language. It sounds like the West Indian. And when you speak it, I'm sure anybody who's been around West Indians at all, they hear the flavor.
And just to give it again, December the 1st through the 4th, with the symposium, the whole weekend is called the Sea Island Gullah Christmas Celebration. And we have, like I said, the symposium is that Thursday with all those different groups. And that evening, we will have a Gullah supper for them, for the participants and those people who come to hear. And we'll also do a mini film festival because 4 of the different homegoings have been documented through South Carolina ETV. And so that documentary, Gullah Roots, Language We Cry In, and Family Across the Sea, all of those will show snippets of that. And then on Friday, during the day, we'll have Gullah tours all day long. And then Gullah Traveling Theater will be doing performances during the day for school students. So when you ask for something if you're close enough to bring some students to see the Christmas show, we do that in the day for the students. And then that night, we do the full stage production of Gullah Kinfolk Christmas Wish, Freedom Coming. It's the last Christmas before the Civil War. And all the talk on the plantations, like I said, the masters have gone to Charleston, the Institution Hall, to sign the Articles of Succession. And you hear the rumblings of pre-Reconstruction getting ready to start the Civil War. And so we put all that history on stage through musical theater. And we always connect it back to Sierra Leone. We always go back to Africa. We bring you through the Middle Passage Voyage and all of that. And then on Saturday, we have a Gullah Taste of Christmas and rice cook-off. This will be our 3rd year with the rice cook-off. The first year we just gave, plaques and blue ribbons. Last year, we were able to do a cash prize. So this year we're doing hopefully a larger cash prize. And this year, because we're doing the symposium with the Sierra Leone trips, we're opening up, and hopefully some of our African brothers and sisters will come and enter some of their jollof rice. And because last year, Hoppin' John won last year. So we're going to see who's going to win this year. So we're excited about that. And that's at the waterfront. It's free entertainment all day. Like I said, along with the rice cook-off, and we have all these different Gullah cooks that'll be selling their Gullah food. And so it's a nice, just a nice event. You know, come on down.
And I think what we didn't highlight enough from the festival in May were the vendors.
Plenty of vendors. Yes.
Lots of vendors there. And affordable vendors, because I got some nice things. So yeah. So Miss Davis, when is the festival again, or is that, do they not?
The one in December is December the 1st through the 4th.
Okay.
And
then Miss Davis mentioned the Rice Festival. Is that still happening there?
Yeah, the Rice, I think it's in April, right, Miss
The
Joy?
Rice Festival is in April.
Yes, ma'am.
So if you put that in the chat, says I don't know how to, I don't even know how to look. I don't even know how to cook rice if it's in a disposal, use those bags you put in the water. I still
and let me put in a plug too. We also, and I want to say this, all the different festivals we have. Like I said, we are Gullah 365 in the fourth day. And we want people to come during the festival, in between the festivals. We need you here. And we need you to tell folks you're coming. When you come and you get into these hotels, or you go to the restaurants, whatever, tell them you're here because of Gullah Geechee. And if you are not going to support the Gullah Geechee people, then we'll find someplace else to stay. That's the kind of power we can have here. And usually in September, Labor Day weekend, we would be having the Lands and Woodlands River Fest. I think Erica was talking about the property. That's a story of victory. Right after the Civil War, I forget, about 30 family members put together $3,200, and they bought 328 acres of property, and 100 of those acres is beachfront property. I don't know if you remember, about maybe 15 years ago when Ted Turner was in the news and was talking about Ted Turner was trying to take the Gullah people property. That's the property you're talking about, because his property butts right next to it. They went to court, they won, they incorporated it. And so now they got the Lands and Woodlands Corporation, so that a family member cannot sell off this property. And so every Labor Day weekend, they have this festival to help raise money to maintain. When you talk about some beautiful, unspoiled waterfront beach property, perfect for destination weddings, family reunions, retreat, sisters retreat, artist retreat, writers retreat, secluded, beautiful beachfront property. So this is the third year that they're not going to have the festival because of Corona, and the president had a sudden death in the family. But please, if you're looking for a nice destination place that's secluded, we have event planners. Not only do we do this, but part of what I do is a total Gullah experience event planning consortium. And I call it a consortium because it's not just about me and my four and no more. I'm here to help folks here in Beaufort and surrounding areas, show them how to showcase our culture. But one of the things God gave me, he said, as you preserve this culture will preserve you. I said, Lord, what are you talking about? And he said, economic development. That's what our young people need. Even $15 an hour cannot compete with drug money. But tourism, which is the #1 industry in the world, the #1 industry in the state of South Carolina and Beaufort County, only second to healthcare in America. And it's the last thing when you talk to Black kids, I won't do that. I don't cook in nobody's kitchen. I ain't cleaning no rooms. That's all we think, because we have not educated our children or our people to know tourism. I mean, the sky is the limit. Right. And when people are coming, heritage tourism is the #1 area now in tourism, and Gullah being the lead. So now we have to get our people ready, because the story is already out. I tell them the Gullah pie is already baked. You can't go back and tell people, don't come here because we don't want, they already here. So what we can decide is whether or not we want a piece of the pie and how big the pie is, and be prepared for when the people come.
Yeah.
So we can do all of that to help, and because we want to see Black dollars or just dollars that's coming to find out about Black history, whether, I don't care who it comes. We want to see it going to Black pockets. And so that's part of our mission, even with the festivals that we do. The festivals are the commercials, or the Super Bowl Sunday commercials, because y'all gonna drink beer the whole year. So we want you to come the whole year, and we want to make sure Gullah is alive and kicking, and we're ready to greet you and bring you home and let you know that you're part of Gullah Kinfolk, and we're glad to have you.
There's a person on the call, Mr. Manley. Are you still with us? I understand he's from Sierra Leone. Mr. Manley.
Yes.
Hi.
Yes, I'm with you all since the start of the whole forum.
Hey, Albert, how you doing, Mr. Albert?
Yes, my mom. Yes, my mom. I'm listening to you all, and I've learned a lot from you about the culture out there in the United States and the history. I want to say kudos to all of you for sharing such a wonderful information that has equipped me so much. And I've been in this promotion since 1994. I've been promoting the Gullah connection here for people to be informed well about this connection. So, and I've also been participating in this Gullah festival since 2014 to date. And I've been doing some lyrical songs historically to educate people locally and internationally with regards to this connection. And I'm very much grateful that if all of you are talking, it's because we are all connected to this history, and the home roots of this whole history is Bones Island, your village of your ancestors. I'm grateful to be part of this forum, and I pray that whatever you people are yearning for, to make sure that generation you're yet unborn will meet the legacy of what you are laying down now. I pray that God Almighty will guide and direct you in every step to make it happen for generation yet unborn, so that this history will be the history to save souls of our long lost ancestors, because they will only have a resting peace when this message is reached in every corner of the world about the significance of this whole connection from Sierra Leone to America. Because when you talk about 1756, that was the first time the very first slave ship was left in Sierra Leone to South Carolina, Charleston. And by then, the English explorer by the name of John Hawkins, he was in charge of that particular vessel that left the shores of Sierra Leone, Bones Island to South Carolina at that time. Looking at all those perspective point of view, we contributed a lot to develop the economic and the political formation of the United States of America. So that's the most powerful thing that you people, the African Americans, did for that nation to restore today what America is supposed to be. Because the overwhelming economy was all booming because of rice agriculture, which was the main source of income when the United States was just 13 colonies. And because of that fact, thousands of our people, our ancestors, were shipped to that part of the world. Mind you, if a song that was taken after 7 generations through Mary Moran's roots, then it means you have a root also to connect your children so that their mindset will change from negative actions that they are engaging at now, as we are all discussing about the children now, because they lack the understanding of where they came from. And this is the time that, as our mommy is talking, Mommy Anita is talking about the Roots Connection, which is the biggest tourism company now. I believe this is the time to take all school children, African Americans, back home to see the reality of life, the reality where they originated from, so that they can begin to change their mindset, so that they can stop shooting one another, killing one another. Just get that kind of mindset change, because we Africans, we don't like killing ourselves like that. So please, I'm grateful that I would love to be part of this reunion family in December, because when the first homecoming was in 1989, I was a young boy. We were in the street waiting for Emery Campbell. I could vividly remember those days. I was standing in the street with my green, white, and blue flag when President Momo invited them. We are the one cheering them that during that time. And if that time to this time, I'm still contributing towards this connection, I want to be part of the December celebration of the reunion so that I can feel involved. I can feel part of this family as I continue to hope for. God bless you all, and pray that all those around the world will be well informed that this connection is the only way out for all African Americans to know their roots. Thank you so much for listening. God bless you all.
Oh, thank you. That was just thank you. That was great.
May I just say that when he started talking, and when you said that you're from Sierra Leone, I could feel my mother's presence with me, because it was mama's goal to make sure that we knew who we were as a people, who we are as a people, and to maintain that connection and make sure that we had pride in who we are. You know, we would not forget. I used to work at Penn Center when Emory Campbell was director of Penn Center. So I remember when he took that trip to Sierra Leone. And I just want to thank you so much, my brother.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So are we, is that Albert and is that Mr. Manley in this picture?
Yes, that's that's the only man, the Manley Mustafa.
Yeah,
if you know what makes your Sierra Leonean, you will know what makes them the Gullah. The different tribes that makes us Sierra Leoneans is what makes them the Gichi. We bless our foreparents who passed on their Mende song to Mary Morgan Bendu Jabati to preserve her heritage. Today, in this great universe.
Lovely. Thank you. Thank you. I look forward to meeting you, Mr. Manley.
Indeed. God bless you.
And I'm sure that I'll try and get down there. And I don't know, I'm going to try and get down there in December. If I'm not in Vietnam, I'll try and get there.
For sure.
So yeah. Let me see. I don't know why Mr. Who is this? Mr. Morris, we know you're here. He keeps sharing his screen with us. Why? Bye, Mr. Morris. But anyway, this has been such a great gathering. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff in here about food, fish and grits, and yes. Is fish and grits, is that Gullah?
Oh, yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Everything Gullah. Now, come on.
My grandfather was a fisherman. And so we grew up with fish, shrimp, whatever. Okay. And we use it as breakfast food. And I remember when I went to New York as an auditor, I worked with this company, National Credit Union Administration. And, you know, they sell going out to lunch, or we're going to go out to lunch. And they ordered shrimp. And I'm wondering to myself, why are they ordering shrimp for lunch? And that's breakfast food, you know? But I didn't realize then that it was considered a delicacy because I grew up with it. I could eat it anytime I wanted, you know? So
and you didn't go to the store to buy it. You went out and
That's it. That's it.
Yeah, that's why it has to watch High on the Hog. I mean, the education that you get in that documentary from foods you don't even think about that started in Africa. It's just amazing. And some of the best chefs, you know, came from that time. So, wow, this is great. So I want to give anybody who has an outstanding question, this is your last opportunity. Miss Cox, hi, Miss Cox. I knew you would be here. She said, when she was at the Gullah Festival, oh, we didn't talk about the baskets. Can you all talk about the baskets real quick? They're beautiful. I think people know about the baskets, but maybe not. And the artwork. I have cards. Yeah, the artwork is fabulous.
Yeah, I tell you, beautiful artists. One of the amazing things when we went to Sierra Leone, Amadou Masali, like I said, with Fembo Tick, that organized it. He took Nakia Wig, she's from, oh gosh, Wigfall, she's from the Mount Pleasant, Charleston area. Beautiful basket sewer. And so what he did is he took her and we went to every part of Sierra Leone. We were there those 10 days. And we went to one of the villages that do the shukumblai baskets, and it's weaved in the same manner or sewn in the same manner that we do the sweetgrass baskets. So that was amazing. And what she did is she took a basket that she started sweetgrass, and then one of the sewers, they gave her one of their baskets, and they finished each other's basket with the same technique. That was amazing. And we have, Jerry Taylor, Michael Smalls, Dino Badger. I mean, awesome basket sewers. And that was one of the things that was one of the most popular workshops we had at the festival this year, was people going and starting learning how to make sweetgrass baskets. A lot of the artists that we have, Gullah artists, are self-taught. Even our executive director of the Gullah Geechee Heritage Corridor, Victoria Smalls, is a self-taught artist. And a lot of people don't get to see a lot of her artwork because she's so busy doing the work of the corridor. But awesome artists. We have Jonathan Green, who's world renowned. He's from Beaufort County, South Carolina. We lost an awesome artist. Her roots was Ohio and Louisiana, but she moved here almost, I guess, about 30 years ago. Her husband is Gullah, and she was self-taught, and beautiful artwork. Diane Britton Dunham Griffin, and beautiful artwork. We have Cassandra Gillens, Hank Herring. I mean, you want some more original Gullah artwork, come on. In fact, this is Reverend Leroy. This is my sidekick and walking stick. And the artist that did him is born and raised here in Beaufort, was
Reverend Leroy.
Yeah, Reverend Leroy. He's been all over the world. His name is Richard White, Richard Dennis White. And this is the first one, walking stick, he ever did. But all of his artwork is most of it is done on wood. And he does it it's almost three-dimensional. He paints it on wood and then he carves it out. And he was a truck driver and got injured and started painting. And his work is all over the U.S. In fact, he has a piece for me that's called Henry Box Browns. Anybody knows the story of Henry Box Browns, where he actually built a box around and the person is, and it's beautiful. So I'm waiting for him to bring it for me. And then he did another piece for me called the Gullah Gothic Farmers. So if you ever seen that picture, the farmer, the Gothic farmer and his wife. So we have beautiful Gullah artists here. And so if you want to look for some original artwork, come on to the Gullah Festival, come on to our Christmas show, Christmas Festival. And even in November, the second weekend in November, I think it's November the 11th, is the Penn Heritage Days. You heard Reba talk about Penn, and this will be Penn's first heritage in 2 years because of Corona. And that's going to be at the Penn School. Like she said, the first school for newly freed Blacks, right? And it was created right in the middle of the Civil War, because it was established in 1862. War had just started 1861, didn't end until 1865. And so that is still there. And that's where Reverend Martin Luther King, Dr. Martin Luther King, wrote part of his I have a dream speech, because Penn School was the only place that Blacks and whites that was part of the civil rights movement could meet in safety, where he felt safe. Because Black folks said we didn't play. We didn't play.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Anita, because this year during one of my tours, one of the civil rights workers who used to be with Dr. King a lot said that it is true, because when I did my tour, I pointed out Gann House, And I said, it said that that's where he wrote the I Have a Dream speech. I said, I wasn't sure. She said, well, I just want to let you know that he did indeed draft his speech at Gant House at Penn Center, because he and a lot of his close friends used to come to Penn Center quite often, because he always said he felt very comfortable and secure there. So he did indeed draft the speech there, but he didn't finalize it until about 10 minutes before he actually gave it. But he did draft it there at Penn Center, the I Have a Dream speech.
And real quickly, while we're talking about church, we have 2 more hands, and then we're going to call it a day here. So that would be Lola and Jennifer. But can you talk about the connection between the massacre in Charleston and the church in Beaufort, please? The pastor.
Well, Reverend Clemente Pinckney was the pastor of the church at the church in Charleston. What is it? Emmanuel Baptist
Mother
Church.
Emmanuel.
Yeah, Mother Emmanuel Baptist
Baptist
Church. He was a pastor there, but he also pastored the church in Beaufort in the Port Royal area. But I noticed that they have physically moved that church, and now it's located right outside of the entrance to the U.S. Naval Hospital grounds. So that church is there. He did have a smaller church there in Beaufort. So that's the connection.
Right. And that building is now an interpretive center for the National Park Service to interpret the first public reading of the Emancipation Proclamation was done here in Beaufort, because we were the first set of Blacks to be freed. It was part of the Port Royal experiment. And Abraham Lincoln wanted to know, would these newly freed colored folks, would they fight for their freedom? Could they self-govern themselves? Are they able to be educated? And all of the answers was yes, yes, yes. We had one of the first self-governing towns. It was in Hilton Head, which is, like say, southern part of Beaufort County, Mitchellville. And it was founded in 1862. So your history is here. You got to come. And like I said, you can come. We want you to come when the festivals are happening, but come anytime. And we can set up tours for you. We can, give you that Gullah experience with food and whatever you need. But we want you to come and find out about who you are.
Since you mentioned Hilton Head, is it true that Hilton Head was the 40 acres and a mule that was given to us because of a swampland and then taken back at some time? Is that true, or is that fiction?
I'll have to do some research. I can't.
I don't know. I've never heard of that. But
oh, really?
The 40 acre. Now that declaration was made. Some people said it was read in Tabernacle Baptist Church, and some say it was read in First African Baptist Church by General William Sherman. But whether or not we got it, I tell folks I married the mule. I'm still waiting on the 40 acres. He dead now, but he dead, but I didn't kill him. Just want y'all to know that. Let me clarify that real quick.
But I've heard that a lot, so that might be just one of those.
But you know what? Urban
myths.
I've heard of the 40 acres and a mule, but I'm not sure where. I don't think it may have been promised, but I don't think it was ever given.
Yeah. So the story is, as it may not be true, is that they gave us the land at Hilton Head because it was swamp land, and they figured we would never be able to do anything with it anyway, which is what we would expect them to do. So that's why the legend, if it's not true, that's why it's so credible. Okay, so real quick, Lola, and then Jennifer, and then we're going to say goodbye. But go ahead, Lola, very quickly, please. How are you? Lola's from Nigeria, so I know she can relate to a lot of what you all are, and I'm assuming I shouldn't do that, right, Lola? Sorry. You're on mute, sweetheart. You're on mute, Lola. Yes. It's a horrible connection. Bad connection. You're not coming through clear at all. It sounds like it's your internet connection, maybe.
She may have to put it in the chat.
We can't hear you.
Maybe she's on an overhead fan or something.
No, I think it's her internet connection. Lola, can you try to sign out and come back in and see if you get a better connection, and we'll hold out. We'll let Jennifer go while you're trying to do that. Okay. All right. Thank you. Lola's here all the time, so I'm not sure what that problem is. Miss Jennifer, what's up? How are you?
Okay, and yourself, Helen, how are you and everyone there? I'm so glad I was able to get on this Zoom. You know, I've been here, there, all over the place. I want to thank you ladies for coming out and giving that information. It just warms my heart, soul, and spirit to know that we still have that connection to the motherland, and we got people like you guys that history, that drive is in your spirit and soul. It's who you are. It's who the Creator made you to be. Thank you, ladies. Thank you. What I wanted to say, I was blessed in the 80s to go to Dakar, Senegal. And back then when I went there, as soon as I came to the airport, they said, "My sister, you came home." They greeted me with such respect, and I was just elated. Then they made sure that I went to Goree Island. I came in late. I don't know if people talked about Goree Island, but Goree Island is where the Portuguese set up the slave trade, and they had the original forts, and the host that was there, the guide, he said to us, "You people who look like us, get to the front. This is your history. Get here, and the rest of you people don't get to the back." It was a lot of French people. And so when we went in they had these little caves. I mean, maybe no taller than 4.5 feet, that they would put these slaves in, and you'd have to be, balled up inside there for months waiting for the ship. And so I asked, "Can I go in there?" So he was like, "Sure, get in there." I went in there, and I tell you, it wasn't a good 5 seconds. Every bone in my body was in excruciating pain. And it's like I felt all the ancestors' pain. And I was like, "Oh, I gotta get out. I gotta get out." You know what I mean? And I couldn't believe it. But when you walk out of that doorway of no return, and on Goree Island, all you see is that ocean. And I could see why slavery lasted so long, why the Portuguese succeeded, because they could see anything way before whatever was coming seen them, but it was a wonderful experience. I got to go to, like I said, Dakar, Goree, Sierra Leone, and the Gambia. And the Gambias, when I got there, the guy who took me, Jare, he said to me, "You're from the Gambia, and when you get there, you'll see your people." I was like, "How do you know that?" You know what I'm saying? But when I got there, I was like, "Oh, Daddy. Oh, no, that's my brother." The features, the DNA just don't lie. So I commend you, sisters, for all the work you're doing. I'm trying to get there. I was going to go with Helen the last time she went, but I was leaving for Panama. So I'm looking forward to December, April, whatever. Helen, if you leave without me, we're no longer friends. Anyway, love you, ladies. Thank you for the work you're doing. I just wanted to share that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Lola, do you want to try again? Someone suggested that maybe if you turn off your camera, you'll come across your voice.
That's what I done. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, because I just went on my phone instead. Let me just run this. Okay. Yeah, I just want to thank you for this wonderful program. It's really very enlightening. And also at some point, I would love to connect with the sisters down there, because there's so much that I would like to do relating to how our cultures connect. And also, I want to thank the gentleman from Sierra Leone. His message was so uplifting, and he sees us as one. That's the way I feel, that those of us that are from Africa and the people here, African Americans, we are all the same. We're all connected. We're the same people. If we didn't start out as the same people, the white man made us the same when they took some of us. And they also have defined us by race, which was not the way we defined ourselves when they started slavery. But now we are all together, and I just feel that We all have to stay together, be together to fight the common enemy. And it just seems that no matter what the narrative is, there's a way for the powers that be, or the people, or the white supremacists, to turn it around and hurt us with it. Even the narrative that African chiefs sold fellow Africans, that has now become a problem between African Americans, the young people, that is, African Americans and Africans, because some Africans would be accused of selling them. And I say, in every group, every race, you're going to find people who will betray others. It doesn't matter what the group is. The Jews, I mean, people say even Hitler is a Jew. And so you're going to find that Black on Black crime is not unique to Black people. There's white on white crime. People are going to kill people who they are most familiar with. That's just what happens. But when it happens with Black people, they manage to highlight it and make it seem like we are unusual, like there's something bad about us. But we just have to make our people, especially the young people, realize that it's not unique to us, that we have people who might have betrayed us. Even during slavery, some slaves would tell on other slaves and snitch on other people, even after they got here. So it's not, and then I always like to point out that white folks did not need permission. They did not need the permission of African chiefs to enslave Africans. They were going to do it anyway. They imprisoned chiefs who disagreed with them. People like Jaja Fukobo. They took chiefs as slaves. They took children of chiefs and queens and kings. So it really didn't matter. They were going to do what they did. And after all, they went to African, colonized Africans in their own land and worked them to death, I mean, in so many areas. So it really isn't, when we talk about, Africans also betrayed Africans, we may need to go further and make it clear so that the young people don't turn on one another for that reason, because we are all in this together. Here, I've been in this country more than I've been in Africa, and I've experienced racism. Nobody cares that I'm from some other part of the world. They look at me, they see Black. They look at any one of us, they see Black. So we all have to be one in that sense, and we have to make sure that the young people understand that and don't use it against one another. And that's really my point. But I love what you're doing. I love the uplifting of the culture, the pride in the culture and everything. Thank you so much.
Ashe. Thank you. Thank you.
Ashe. Thank you, Lord.
I said that we are going to wrap it up, but there are two people on here that I just have to call out. Caroline Hunter always has good information for us, and I would love to hear her thoughts on this conversation. And I see that Don, I always mess up your last name, Don Viepris is with us, and he's a wealth of information too. So do either of you want to speak up before we sign off?
Yes, let me first thank you very much, Helen, for this stupendous program. This one, I think, beats a lot of others, and all of the others I've tuned into were good. So thank you very much for hosting. Three of our elders who are really griots, because they gave us their stories. And I also have to thank Albert and others for checking in. And I've learned so much, because there is so much to learn and there's not enough time in life to learn. So I'm very grateful, and I'm going to take the message that you all have offered to my soul, and I'm going to distribute it widely. And I look forward, before I close my eyes, one day on this earth to attend the Gullah Festival, to support the Gullah people, and to ensure that the most important thing that affects us, which is land, is always secured, not just for this generation, but for all generations to come. And for those who are yet even to be born,
Yes.
to be able to retain that connection with pride and with dignity and with their heads held high, because we are still here and we're not going anywhere. So thank you.
No, thank you. Don is, you know, we have these elder wisdom people in our lives. Don is one I can always call on. So thank you, Don, for supporting me. And when you say this is good work, I know it's good work. So thank you. Caroline Hunter, can I call you out? And then we're going to give these ladies a closing words and we're going to be done here. Caroline, are you with us still?
Yes, I am. And all I have to say is just thank you very much for this education session and for your constantly connecting us to our roots and our heritage, whether it is on the continental United States or in the diaspora. So I just want to thank the elders for their wisdom. And I think we have to do more to educate each other and support each other.
Thank you so much. God bless you.
Here's another one I call on for wisdom. So thank you, Ms. Hunter.
Thank you.
All right. So ladies, I cannot thank you enough. And you heard what Don said. We do good programs here, but this was one of the better ones. And I can tell you, this is probably our highest rate of attendance all summer. So this has been really good. So I give you the last moments for closing comments, and then we'll say good night.
Well, I'll just say that the Gullah Festival will be held May 23rd through the 26th at the Henry C. Chambers Waterfront Park in Beaufort, South Carolina. Our president is Roy Hicks. He's my nephew. Let's see, and we accept donations. We're not too proud to say that because we're a nonprofit organization. We don't have paid employees, we're volunteers. And so if you would like to donate, you can send funds to P.O. Box 83 in Beaufort, South Carolina, 29901. I put the address in the chat, or you can donate, go to our website at originalgullahfestival.org. And we accept that will go through PayPal. So I just want to thank you for that. And as I said, I do tours. And if anyone is interested in a personal tour or whatever, just you can reach me. I put my phone number in there and I'll be glad to give you a tour as well.
Can you,
thank you.
Can you give those dates again? Because I think you gave the wrong dates. It's the
May 23rd to 28th.
No,
26th.
23rd.
23rd to 6th to 28th. I'm here May 26th to 28th.
The group I'm going to bring, for those of you who want to travel with When Black Women Gather, which will make it extra special, I'll add. The goal is that we will leave on May 25th and return on the 29th. That gives us an extra day on the front and an extra day on the back to do other stuff that's nearby. Hilton Head, Savannah, Charleston, dinner at Pearly Sue's.
We feed you.
Anyway, go ahead, Pearly Sue.
Yeah, tell them just don't come to be on no diet. Be no diet, not it.
We'll thin up before we come, ready to fat.
That's right. Thin up before, diet before you get here. So you can fatten up, I'll fatten you up, and then you go back and diet some more. But just to piggyback on Reba with the donations, one of the challenges we put out is the $5 donation as your happy meal, your unhappy meal, your mediocre meal, or whatever you want to call it. $5. your coffee, whatever you want to call it, $5. If everybody on this call challenge 10 people to pay $5 to the Gullah Festival till next year this time, we'll have what we need to continue this legacy. This was the first year that we didn't charge. We didn't have the fencing up this year, so there was no fence. So with all the educational stuff, you could come and you could get it. All the entertainment on stage, main stage, there was no fencing. So that was Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Education, more education, laugh, fun. And so, but
And
the
real
electric
quick,
bill is
it
still high.
was very affordable. It was
Yeah.
extremely affordable. So they're not gouging. So anything that we can do to keep the prices down, I support, what you're saying. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yes, and we want to make sure, and that's one of the things that and like I said, I'm just real. We complain about paying for our own culture, but we don't complain when we go get the nails did it, get the weave in and all the eyelashes. That's all I'm gonna say, and I'm gonna leave it at that. If Black women, if we just gave up our weave money for a month and our nail money for a month, how we could change and then start investing it in some property, how we could change the narrative. I'm gonna just say that. I'm gonna leave that. That wasn't part of it. That was an extra.
True that. Talk about it.
But anyway, we want to remind people again, like I said, November the 11th and 12th, that's the Penn Heritage Day Festival here in Beaufort, on St. Helena Island. And St. Helena Island is part of Beaufort County. So again, we got to quit dividing ourselves. Because them the Beaufort didn't say no. Beaufort County, Hilton Head, Bluffton, St. Helens, Burton, Yamasee, all of it, Beaufort County. Beaufort.
I'm glad you said that because people seem to say, and I wasn't clear on it either. They're like, I just want to see the Sea Islands. So when people say that,
all of it is Sea Islands.
Oh, the Sea Islands.
All of it is Sea Islands.
It's low country,
like
South Carolina, low country.
If we were to take you, and we go from where you were downtown, and we took you all the way to Fripp Island, you will cross about 3-4 bridges. Everything is Sea Islands. So a lot of these, you got Coosaw Island, you got Warsaw Island, and everything is by a bridge. So like I tell people, if you don't like water, Beaufort County, South Carolina is not the place to come because it's all barrier and Sea Islands. So all of these islands, Hilton Head, Bluffton, Defusky Island, you have to go by boat. Fripp Island, Hunting Island, we have one of the most popular beaches in South Carolina. Huntsville beaches. And so come on down. And so, all that's here. So that's November the 11th and 12th. Then December 1st to the 4th, that's us and when I say us, that's the Sea Island Gullah Christmas celebration. And you put that up, please, and send that so they can see that. So that's a whole 4 days, starting with Thursday with the symposium, and then Sunday closes out with the Christmas parade. We just put that in there because the city of Beaufort comes and we partner with them to do this thing. And it's called, bringing the community together in unity. Love is it. And so that's in January. And then February, you have the NIPCA Native Islanders Gullah celebration on Hilton Head. It's the whole month of February on Hilton Head. So if you ever want to come on Hilton Head and the hotel room's so high in the summertime, they tend to bring them down. Well, it used to be cheaper in February, but now since it's become so popular with the Native Islanders celebration, you have the whole month to come and enjoy that. And then come back in May, and we'll be right here waiting for you at the Gullah Festival, Memorial Day weekend. Memorial Day weekend, Decoration Day. Remember, Memorial Day is the old-fashioned Decoration Day celebration. And that's always Memorial Day weekend.
I got a note from my niece who does our social stuff. And she said to make sure to let you all know to follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And that there are videos on YouTube and the web and our website. Okay. My background is finance. Okay, so I keep forgetting about all this other stuff. Y'all forgive me.
And I just want to give you all this last little tidbit before I leave. I just came back from Florence, South Carolina, which is about 2.5 hours north of us on 95. And I was part of a celebration called Celebrate Jamestown. Jamestown was founded in 1870 by a man named Irvin James and his wife, Nora James, up in the PD region of South Carolina. Slavery ended 1865. By 1866, he already had contracts where he didn't go out as a sharecropper, but he started negotiating contracts where he was farming these white folks' property and contracting with them that I get 25%, I get 50%, I get 75%, whatever I raise. He saved his money, and by 1970, he put $400 down on 109 acres. The white man who sold him the property had to end up leaving the region because that was unheard of. Because he said he did not want to be sharecroppers. He did not want his children and his children's children in debt and owing nothing. By 1890, his 5 sons and his son-in-law bought another 130 something acres, and they ended up with 246 acres and started this little self-governing called Jamestown. And to this day, the family still owns a good portion of that property. And now every July, they do this sort of reunion called Celebrating Jamestown, which is now open to the public. We're still understanding that land is important. And this man voted in 1868 before Blacks had the right to vote. You don't come out of slavery in 1865 and 1866, you already, he had that mindset. We may not come in with nothing in our hands, but we came with plenty in our hands. And that's what we have to remind our young people. God bless you, and I love you all.
Thank you. And I encourage all of you to go to Pearly Sue's website, try and catch some of her acting, her storytelling. You will be quite impressed. And of course, I support all of us trying to get down for the Gullah Festival next year. It's going to be a challenge because I've already made some calls. I'm definitely relying on these 2 ladies to help us do that because it's so popular that I think people turn around and booked hotels like before they left. It was really good. It was an excellent event, and I look forward to supporting you all. And thank you all for continuing to support the efforts of When Black Women Gather. It is, a Black women's organization, but some conversations are intended for our entire community. And today was one of those conversations. So I'm so glad that you all showed up as you did. And we will do this again. I've got a few things coming up, some for just women, and the others I'll send you all. And if anybody's on this call who has a topic that you want to share with us or a guest that you want to bring to us, please let us know. Even, Black men, if you all want to, because we need to be talking about our relationships some more. So whatever you all want to talk to us about, we're here to listen to you too. You're our brothers. We are one community. We have to heal together. And somebody asked about the recording. This recording will be on YouTube. And actually, I encourage you to join my YouTube channel. I'm putting it in the chats now. It's just Miss Higgy. So if you go to Miss Higgy YouTube, you should be able to sign up and see some old videos. I'm not a professional. What we do is what we put out there. So, skim through it, see what you want to see, share it with people who weren't able to come today. And thank you all again for coming. I'm going to stop the recording. We can hang out.
One last, we're looking for volunteers, so you can go to that original Gullah Fest and sign up as volunteers and corporate sponsorship. So if you got some corporations that need to do some reparations through supporting what we do, tell them this is a good way to heal some of their whatever.
Yeah.
Money is green.
Yeah.
And I'd like to give kudos to my niece, Donna Pazant. She does the vendors market for the Gullah Festival. She's on, and she also does our social media. And I see that my sister Charlotte is on, Charlotte Pazant Brown. She's the other co-founder that I was telling you about. So I just want to give shout outs to them.
Let me say to another way that we can support these ladies. Everybody on here, there's people on here in the country, outside the country, around the country. You all can invite them to come speak to your group just as we spoke here. The more they can get the words out, the more people that, they can introduce not only to the festival, but to the Gullah history. I'm sure they're willing to do that. So keep that in mind. And I guess you can reach out to Donna and she'll make that happen.
Yes.
Okay, I don't think I met you, Donna, so I look forward to seeing you next year. I met Reba because like I just bugged her until she got us everything that we wanted, and she did. She really did.
Excuse me, Reba, could you please put your phone number in the chat one more time, please?
My phone number is area 404 718 9221.
9221. Thank you so much.
You're quite welcome.
Yeah, so we'll make this happen. I think it would be really cool for all of us to be able to be down there together because we've been meeting online and a lot of us don't know each other. So there's a few things that are happening, which I mentioned earlier. For those of you who are just getting on the call, we are going to have another Women's Day at the range. So for Black women who still want to learn how to shoot, we're going to do that August 27th. So if you're in the New Jersey, Philadelphia, Delaware area, mark your calendar for that. This Thursday, we're having a conversation with two other women, not Black women, this will be Black and white women organizations to talk about giving ourselves permission to redefine ourselves. And that's going to be powerful. And Pearlie Sue, you've alluded to it a couple of times here. I would love to have you back so that we can have a conversation about how we show up as Black women, young women, because you talked about it. And that is such a trigger when we have this conversation. Those of you who are women, please join my Facebook page, When Black Women Gather. We have all kinds of conversations over there. And one of the ones is, you know, how young women are dressing and presenting themselves. Not to say that our guys are not an issue, but there's definitely a generational, and I can't even say that because some women my age feel the same, you know, that people should be able to express themselves. But I think the wisdom of somebody like you would be really good to talk about that conversation, you know, lead that conversation for us. So I'll just drop that bug in your ear if you're interested. I'd love to have you back to do that.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. That's a mandate. We're supposed to teach them.
Yeah.
We've allowed BET and MTV and TikTok and everything else to teach our kids.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. And, you know, I'm not going to get into this right now. I just think that for so long, the Black woman has been depicted as, you know, Jezebel or loose and that, and we always knew that wasn't true. And so to see the next generation possibly illustrating that is, and, you know, and we're not talking about performers, we're talking about regular people. So anyway, so thank you. I look forward to that conversation. And on that note, I'm just going to thank everybody for hanging out with us today. This has been a long call, but I don't apologize for it because I think it was great information and you're all still here, so you must have found it valuable. So on that note, I will say thank you again for your support. And we take ID donations too, so I leave it in the chat. It's all up to you. And we appreciate it. You know, we're all here trying to support one another. So thank you so much.
And if you're educators, I come in and I do educational workshop for teachers, motivating. My thing was all the students nobody wanted. That was my cup of tea. I loved it. I love the thugs. That's my cup of tea. Yes, sir, Bob. So yes. I do a lot of prison ministry. So yeah.
So definitely reach out to both of these women and let them know what you're doing and maybe there's some. Okay, so on that note, I'm really going to stop recording at this point. And like I said, we can hang out for a minute. You're under no obligation to hang out, but it's the party after the party that sometimes is really the party. So thank you again. And we'll see you not next week, but on August, what is that, 7th? I think that's the first Sunday in August. And summer, I don't know where summer went. And it's hot, so everybody please, you know, stay hydrated. And if you don't have to go outside, don't. And check on the elderly, right? Because if you don't see them about, we need to make sure they're okay. They're very vulnerable in this weather, so make sure you're doing that. All righty. So on that note, I'm going to stop recording.